Thank you for joining us for Journey to the Obsidian Spire, our epic D&D 5th edition Dark Sun campaign. As we begin tonight, our heroes have set out from their home city of Balak, traveling by way of a grand caravan across the merciless desert. On their 4th day of travel, after surviving snake-like shapeshifters, a mind-controlled giant, and the unrelenting heat of the wild wastes, the caravan finally reaches their first major destination, the crossroads village of Altaruk. Altaruk is larger than most villages in the desert, but still just a speck of sand compared to the greatness of Balak and the other city-states. Altaruk sits atop an important juncture upon the Balak-Tyr trade route. Other routes branching from the village extend to the northern city-states and into the eastern tablelands. As you view the city of Altaruk, in the valley beneath of it, below there lies a silt channel dotted with tiny distant islands visible in the late afternoon light. A 15-foot wall encircles the entire village, guarded by a well-trained mercenary army. Some of the guards work constantly to rebuild the crumbling sections of the stone wall caused by regular earthquakes that rock this region and swallow sections of the town and its connecting roads. A small dock at the mouth of the channel below is managed by a local elvish group, a tribe who charges a fee for anyone who wishes to charter a corral barge through the silt to the other trading villages. And that route stretches all the way from Altaruk, the very end of the Silt Sea, the final destination point before it opens up into the world beyond, known as Lastport. So we begin tonight. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Dark Sun. As the sun dips into the horizon, turning the sky this sort of hazy plum color, your caravan approaches the gates of the village of Altaruk. Ntak, your Thry-Kreen guard captain, goes ahead to announce the arrival of Houses Jarko, House Sereno, House Akacia, and the representatives of the village of Villery. So while we begin with Ntak riding off on the back of his beast, this spider-like beetle mount that he rides, my first question for you is, do any of you ride ahead with Ntak and leave the caravan behind? All right.
I feel like Horsun might.
All right. How does Horsun leave the caravan behind? Does Horsun ride, or is he like running down the road?
That's a great question. He would, from an ego standpoint, do the necessary things to keep up with Ntak, which would probably mean in the long run getting his own mount to do so.
All right. So we'll say from House Jarko, you have a number of, they're called Crodlu. They sort of look like a mix between an ostrich and a dinosaur. These sort of lizard-like mounts that are built for solo riders. They're pretty fast. And so Ntak and Horsun ride ahead of the rest of the caravan. But over the last 4 days of travel, silt from the nearby sea has collected on you, your clothes, your armor, your belongings. It's finding ways into every little nook and cranny that you can imagine. The sun has been brutal during the day, and the dry air at night has made it hard to get a good night's rest. After 4 days of travel, even on the back of great beasts, even protected somewhat from the outside by your howdaws and the shade of the cloth bound around them, it's exhausting, even for the hardiest of travelers. And so, for our first dice rolls tonight, I would like you all to make me a Constitution saving throw. All right, so what did we get here?
Horsun got a 24.
18 for Ebo. Dia got a
Dia.
19.
All right. What about for Merula?
That would be a delightful 11.
Okay. All right. So Merila, you have gained a level of exhaustion just from the travel, and it's not, it's not anything ongoing, but you really need rest, like a real night's rest and actual comfort. It's a big change, I think, for Merila coming from the city, at least recently, spent a lot of time indoors, like living a fairly lavish life, and it's just kind of gotten to you at this point. So that's how we kind of start off with a caravan slowly approaching down the road. You can see the walls of Altaruk in the distance as the sun is setting. Horsun and Untak, you ride ahead. You can see as you approach the large wooden gates of the village, there's a small group outside of well-armed mercenaries clad only in cloth, no armor, wielding obsidian polearms. You see at the head of them, stomping away from them, sort of to meet your approach on the road, two figures. One is a stocky young dwarf, so completely bald, actually wearing leather armor, wielding over his shoulders a pair of spikes that are tied together by a long coil of rope. And they have like handles, but they're a metal weapon. Walking alongside him is an old, broad-shouldered Maul with a nose that you can tell as the two of you are approaching. It's been broken many times in this Maul's life. And he's wearing the dusty but sort of well-made robes, these sandy brown colors that you might expect a merchant to wear. And Ntak's riding alongside you, hasn't said anything or communicated to you. Is Horsun doing anything in particular as he approaches?
Horsun is paying attention to his surroundings and taking in the things he can take in. He knows he's not going to be running lead on this interaction. He's just going to be present for security reasons.
Okay. So as the two of you ride and approach the Kank, the spider-like beetle creature that Ntak is riding, it skitters a little ahead. It just leaves you in its dust just for a moment, and it comes up tall and stretches its long legs up. Ntak rises up with it. He doesn't get down from his mount immediately, but you can see this merchant-looking Maul, this older Maul, kind of just open up his arms and say, whoa, now, there is no need for that. Come. We have heard of your arrival ahead of time. We have made preparations. Perhaps you can get down off of your beast and we can make trade. I have the price already set for you. And Ntak kind of pauses for a second and clacks his mandibles and just turns his head slightly in your direction.
What are you looking at me for? I'm just security. Go on.
You hear Ntak say inside your mind, speaking telepathically, Ntak, just security, too. Did not know. We must pay.
Well, I don't have any money. So, fine. We didn't think to bring a talker with us? Alright, okay. Thank you for awaiting us at your gate.
You are welcome, my friend. I am looking forward to the business you will bring to Altaruk while you stay here. Forgive me, I am being rude. I am Rakesh Zanibane. I am one of the Council of Three here.
Now, would I have heard of Rakesh during my exploits in Balak?
Go ahead and roll me a history check. I'm gonna say yes, but let's see what you know of Rakesh.
All right, that's athletics, right?
It never gets old. But no.
I critted with a 19. I have a -1 in the stat.
Yeah. Rakesh has quite the reputation. He is significantly older than you. Long life for a mall. Many of whom who are professional soldiers, mercenaries, gladiators, and generally like they live hard and fast. And Rakesh was a champion gladiator long before your time in Tyr, specifically in Tyr, and he also has a reputation of having trained gladiators for the city of Tyr, much like what you do, but on a grander scale. As big as the Criterion is in Balak, in Tyr, it has this almost, I don't want to say religious aspect to it, but people revere it and its games above everything else. Whereas in Balak, there's the Criterion, but they also care about theater and the arts. There's other forms of entertainment as well. And he retired fairly recently. We'll say with a natural 20 that word has come through House Jarko, and you're aware that Rakesh has retired and accepted a position working for House Sereno. And his position is basically to mediate between House Tomblador and House Wavir in Altaruk. He's the third vote in the Council of Three.
So, upon this interaction, he's going to do a double take and process things. Wait, Rakesh, the Rakesh, gladiator, trainer.
We are all many things in life before the end, are we not? Now, I am Rakesh the merchant, Rakesh the councilman, Rakesh the one who welcomes large caravans at our gates.
Right, we'll get to that later. I was a gladiator myself in Balak, undefeated. You might have heard of me. Blaze of Balak. Horsun.
The Blaze of Balak, Horsun.
Horsun, Blaze of, it's reversed, but it's the same name, just in different parts.
The Blaze of Balak. Roll me a performance check.
Ooh, that is a wicked 9.
He thinks really hard about it, and then he says, yes. I did see one of your fights once, I believe. Congratulations on living this long.
Which fight you see?
Oh, I believe it was a fight that included some elves and a halfling.
Yeah, well.
Perhaps. It was years ago, but I remember you.
Yeah, well. Now I'm also training. It's a passion of mine. Are you still training, or are you just merchanting?
I do not train any longer, my friend. I'm getting old. It hurts too much. And besides, I have been lucky enough to make the coin I need to not have to train. I enjoy my life very much now.
That's so. How does, I was unaware that caravans would have to pay to move through here. So, why? First off, because if we're trying to bring supplies and upgrade the economy, you know how that works. I don't, but why do we have to pay a toll just to get in. It doesn't make sense.
Let me show you something, my friend. And he comes over and he tries to like clap you on your opposite shoulder to kind of get one of his big arms. And um, even though he's not as fit as maybe he once was, he's still got huge arms. It's that sort of like old man muscle that like once you have it, it's there for the rest of your life. It's just a little looser than it used to be. Tries to put it around your shoulder.
And so can I, with his motion and like the tenseness of his body, can I like check to see if this is at all hostile or condescending?
Yeah, absolutely. Roll me an insight check.
I've used my one athletics joke for the session. That's a 5.
It's familiar, but it's familiar in the sort of way that I think, Horsun, you've probably experienced the sort of camaraderie that gladiators who train together have with each other, and there's that sort of sense behind it to you.
Okay. So he'll let it slide.
Okay. And he doesn't walk you far off the road. He just kind of walks you a ways off the road, and you get a better look at one of these walls. And you can see on the outside of the stone wall, the wall has crumbled. It's lower than the rest of the wall around it in this section. And there's a dozen mercenaries who are laboring very hard, trying to pull out broken pieces of the wall. They've got other slabs of stone set out that they're ready to lay after they've cleared out the rubble. And he sort of just gestures to it and he says, Altaruk is a unique village in this world. If you want to get from one city to another, you must cross through it unless you risk sailing on the sea. And so, in a way, we here in Altaruk, we keep the peace. We make sure trade is safe. At these crossroads, however, there is activity beneath the earth. Earthquakes are frequent here, some of them big and some of them much bigger. I cannot tell you how many times in my life Altaruk has been rebuilt almost from the ground up. And so the only way that we can build these walls to keep out the giants from the sea, to keep out raiders, to keep the peace, is to charge a toll. It is common. It is what we do for everyone. Perhaps, and I understand you travel with very important people, they thought that they would be immune to having to pay the toll. But this is not the case, I'm afraid.
Well, is a toll limited to coin? Perhaps we can do a trade of services?
He folds his arms over his chest and kind of leans back and looks down at you. I mean, he's only maybe an inch and a half taller than you, but he's big even for a mall. And he smiles broadly and says, "I am always happy to listen to an idea."
All right. Well, let's do some customer service here. All right. So you have problems with giants, correct?
From time to time, yes.
And you also have problems with earthquakes.
Yes, we do.
All right. Do you have any other problems?
Well, we always have the problem of House Wabir and House Tumbledore. They each have an equal stake in Altaruk. They run the day-to-day business here, but they do not often get along. That is why I am here, to be frank.
Yeah, all right. Now with these two mooring houses, don't suppose there'd be something we could do to help ease some of that stress for you? And he's got that wicked grin pops in like the corner of his mouth, and he kind of shrugs his shoulders somewhat comedically.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Dirty 20, my friend.
Oh, wow. He sort of scratches the side of his face and he smiles again and he says, "How about this? Tonight at the council hall, there will be a party. It is not a big deal, but during this party, the two representatives for House Wavir who hope to become its leader in Balak will be putting forth petitions. I do not have a personal stake in who is sent on to Balak to lead House Wavir, but I do believe that it is a tense situation, and perhaps the leaders or some of the representatives of the houses you are with might be able to push the vote in one way or another."
So you're telling me, just showing up to this town, we get to go to this party and have a vote? That seems. Well, yeah, no, we can. I'll see. Okay, so what kind of vote? Who gets to vote? Like a head of house, or anyone that shows up to the party? Do we need an invitation?
No invitation is needed. Anyone who lives in Altaruk can come and sign their name, and whoever has the most signatures, no doubt, will be sent on to become the representative in Balak. But heads of houses in Balak are welcome to come and sign as well, and such a powerful name as you have with you, well, they could sway the vote in one way or another. It does not serve our purposes here for the vote to be so close, and I believe it will be. This causes bad blood. But perhaps if the vote were lopsided, then one representative would go on to serve in Balak, the other would stay here in Altaruk, and there would be peace.
So, who do you want in Balak? Who do you want to stay here?
I said before, I have no personal opinion on who it should be. I do not care, so long as the peace is kept.
All right, well, we can do that. Any information I can relay involving information about the candidates?
Well, just come to the party. You can meet them yourself. I will say, however, there is one more thing I must ask of you if I am to waive our fee.
Go ahead.
Well, it is two things. Number one, I do ask that you buy your goods in Altaruk and not try to wait until you get to the next village. That would be helpful to our community here.
We can do that.
Good,
And the
good,
second
good.
thing?
There is another thing you can do that has financial value to me and to my village. Uh, it is information, my friend. Everyone wants to know why have these people, these very important people, come from Balak to Altaruk? Where are they going? What is so important? that they must go together. I must admit I am curious as well.
Well, I'm curious too, but they don't tell security everything. Got a job, you know, and he references his position, and you do it the best you can.
Roll me.
Mhm.
I want to say this is a deception check.
Okay. 17.
It's pretty good. Let me. All right. He nods his head a couple of times and he looks beyond you back to the caravan. And there's this sort of like purple silt that's blowing up now as the sun continues to set and it's sort of hazing over. It's hard to see the caravan behind you as it approaches on the road, though you can hear it. He squints off into that direction and he shrugs his large shoulders and he says, well, sometimes it is better not to know, I suppose. Perhaps I will find out. This is a fine deal to me so long as you promise to shop while you are here and you come to the party tonight.
I can make that happen. And then he smiles and extends a hand.
He spits into his hand and he slings his arm towards you to grab your hand. And it's like that wrist to wrist, like hard shake.
Mm-hmm. And then we clasp forearms. And then I do the additional putting my hand on top of the forearm clasp to assert dominance in the handshake.
Okay. And he puts his opposite hand on your shoulder, the one that's extended, shaking the hand, and gives it a squeeze to also assert dominance.
And so
And
then
he's
Horsun's going
smiling.
to take his left foot and put it on. I'm just kidding. He's going to look at Rafik in admiration, knowing the things he's done for the sport, and let him have that gaze, that look of appreciation, and that Horsun would think that he's a hero.
And he smiles and he says, I will see you soon, please. I will make way for you. Take all the time you need and tell your friends that Altaruk welcomes them.
Will you be at the party? Will I see you there?
But of course.
That's what I like to hear. And then he'll turn around, get Intox's attention, and then head back to the caravan.
As you move back to the caravan, you hear Rakesh call out to the mercenary guards at the gate. And the rest of you at this point, the caravan is close. It's actually slowed down as it approaches because the gates are still shut. But as Horsun is returning with Untak riding back to meet the rest of the caravan, if you were to look out of your howdaws and kind of ahead, you would see the gates begin to open with a loud rattle and groan. And you are all able to pass into the city and start to unload your caravan, which will take several hours. There's an entire process, which we'll kind of move beyond in a minute. But I want to know, as Horsun and Untak are riding back, just want to touch base with where everyone is, what they're doing right now, and see if there's any moments here we kind of want to play out. And I'm interested. Let's start with Merula.
You know, when you're really, really very tired, but also have been juiced with adrenaline from things happening, and it's this terrible crossfade? Well, Merrila's certainly nothing like that right now. That's ridiculous. Why would you say that, Don? So they're gathering up the things in the caravan and putting some of them away. Because they're not taking those with them. No, yes, they are. They need that. And really just doing something to try to have a vessel for nervous energy of being in this a very new place, much farther than they've ever been from home.
And beyond the Haldal are the sites of all of these mercenaries. And if Altaruk is, a village that fluctuates in population with the coming and going of caravans, most of the individuals who live there all the time are either merchants or they're mercenaries, or their families. And so it is a heavily guarded village, and they watch the roads very carefully. So as you're approaching, you have mercenaries on all sides of the roads who are just sort of watching you go by. And as the Haldar rocks with the slow, large, lumbering steps of the Mechalot, the beast that you're riding on, your father, Lord Lucius, is just staring out straight ahead until the Mechalot stops and you wait for your turn to enter into the village. And then he sort of sweeps his toga behind him, almost like a cape, and turns towards you. And he looks down at you, Merula, and he says, "Are you feeling well?"
A little tired from travel, but I'm fine. I'm ready. Are you?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. I have an important task for you while we are in Altaruk.
Yes,
Do
my
you
lord?
believe that? Well, I have to take care of a little business of my own while we are in the village. I do not wish to be bothered by merchants or politicians while we are there. I need someone to represent our house in any official matters.
Of course, my lord. Is the business you're conducting something relevant to the operations of our house that I might need to know?
It is simple bookkeeping. I have deals to make while we are here. They are private. They will support our house. But more important is that our house is visible while we're here, and it cannot be me.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. I can do that. Yes, my lord.
I'm trying to forget about the stunt you pulled several nights ago, but it is gnawing on my mind. I want you to understand that this is not a gift that I am giving you, it is responsibility.
My lord, I understand that it is not a gift. Uh, and I will take this responsibility for our house.
Good. I know that you'll be fine, and this is your first opportunity to show what you can do to outsiders.
Yes, I will not disappoint you.
I hope not. Is there anything you need? While I am in the village, I can go to the markets and get it for you.
I don't think I need anything in particular, my lord. No, we've really been rather well stocked in this caravan, haven't we?
Yes, we've been fortunate so far.
So far?
The road to Altaruk is the easy part. The rest of the
What?
journey will be harder.
I see. Then I leave it to your superior experience in travel as to what I might require.
His eyes sort of flicker back and forth, considering, and he lets out a quiet sound that just kind of hangs in the back of his throat. And then nods his head just so and says, "Very well, I will look. Rest up."
Yes, my lord. Thank you for entrusting me with this.
There's just a hint of a smile just for a moment. And he says, "Very well." And he turns back to the front as the mechalot starts moving again.
I sink down to the floor of the caravan because my head has been spinning. And I was getting the little spot dots in my eyes, and I need to sit down. I'm fine. This is fine. I love public speaking. I'm very good in public. And there's no pressure here to represent my entire house. No.
Is there anything that you think Merula would want to do before you get into the city at this point?
Panic. That's
fair.
pretty much it. They will not sleep because they are much too anxious to sleep right now, but rest at least per their father's orders. Mostly panic.
Amazing. All right, let's go check in on Ebo. Ebo, as you're approaching the village, you see the gates open wide. I want to check, how familiar is Ebo with Altaruk, do you think?
Ebo has... I would think that either Ebo has either been to Altaruk or knows at least quite a handful of people in Altaruk. Being part of that outside village of Balak, he would have done at least some sort of business while he was there. Or while with some sort of business with at least a contact if he has not been to Altaruk.
All right. Roll me a perception check and let me know where we find Ebo as we start tonight. And you're getting very close to entering the city. Some of the caravan, the guards that have kind of ridden to the front are passing first through the gates.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a 12.
Okay. It looks the same and it looks different than maybe how Ebo would remember it. The walls are newer looking. They look like they've been pieced up in patches so that not all the colors kind of match. The stone's different in places where they've had to take away rubble and replace it with a different kind of stone, something they had on hand. And so it has this sort of patchwork quality to the outside of it. But it's definitely, the walls are higher than I think Ebo would have seen them before in previous trips.
I think Ebo would kind of just speak to the closest person, like one of the persons that he was with in the caravan from Villery, and just like stating all these new changes about Altaruk. Just
This walls are much bigger. It looks like they've renovated quite a bit. I wonder if they've gotten into some trouble. Well, I haven't visited in a while.
In the Villery caravan in the Haldar is a hooded figure, small, about 3.5 feet tall, that you don't recognize initially, but the hood's pulled over their head. And they lean forward, and you can see their face a little bit better. It's a female halfling. So short, like shaggy, dark hair. She has across her face just a red paint from the nose up, and then the rest of her face is unpainted down. And she has large, large ears that are much oversized for her head. And she sort of has this walking staff. She looks fairly young. You certainly don't recognize her from Villery, and you can see a flash of what looks like maybe leather armor studded with bone beneath her robe. And as she leans forward, she just kind of turns her head to you and she says, "It's because of the giants.
Oh,
That's why."
Of course. Well, I guess the giants here are not as friendly as some of the ones we have back in Villery. I've never had any trouble with them. I wonder why the giants here are so frustrated. It seems quite odd.
Oh, they're not frustrated. They live out there in the sea on their islands. And when there's not enough food on their islands, well, it's easy enough just to reach over the top of a village wall and take what they want.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. Well, I have to say they're quite crafty with the ways that they are trying to get some food. And, it looks like that big section over there wasn't there when I was here last time. Must have been one of the bigger fellows who decided to knock in.
She leans forward on her knees, and you can see she's sort of wringing her hands between her lap. And she says, "I came through here on my way down to Balak. I still remember it. Someone I was with back then, I think it was a half giant, maybe. Nice fella. He said that the ground beneath Altaruk is hollow, that something happened there a long time ago, and it still causes the ground to shake and swallow parts of the village."
Oh, yes. The last time I had a stay here, I found that quite nice, especially when I was sleeping. Yeah, but I did not know those stories that, the speculation of places being hollowed from underneath. That was not communicated to me that there was whole sections that were lost beneath the city.
She smiles, and when she does, you see that several of her teeth have been sharpened into pretty sharp points. And she looks over to you, and it's not a mean looking smile. It's just different, but it's friendly enough. And she says, "Where I come from, we know that most of the world that ever existed, it's all down there underneath. You dig far enough, you can see the bones of a world that died a long time ago."
Oh, that's quite curious. Well, maybe sometime we could visit it together, or you can show me this lost world that you speak into.
I try to avoid it if I can. You never know what's down there. The old things. Have you never run into anything like that in your travels?
Oh, well, I've heard several stories from quite excitable young people and travelers alike that all stories of all kind that have to deal with subsurface or anything emerging from the ground. From my experience, it's not always the worst that you can find under the sands. Sometimes things can be quite beautiful.
She leans back and she pulls the hood over her head, and so her face disappears for a few moments, and then you hear her sort of just chuckle a little bit, and she just says, without showing her face again, "I can see why everyone likes you.
Oh,
I wish I had your optimism."
yeah, well, surviving for as long as I have, on the borders of Balik, you certainly have to be quite optimistic, from people I've met, pessimistic. So one or the other, I do not find it quite as outstanding as you may think, but I appreciate the compliment nonetheless.
Well, if you fall into any sinkholes, give me a call. I'll come running.
Oh, good to know. I will certainly keep an eye out for them and for you. Just such of occasion arises. Thank you. Yeah, your compassion is very much appreciated.
She goes quiet after that as the villagers and the people representing your village are starting to unpack and prepare to enter into the city or into the village where they'll stow the beasts and the supplies for the night. Is there anything else that Ebbo wants to do before he enters the city?
I don't think anything in the moment. He's mostly just anytime you've been to an old city that you haven't been for in a while, just admiring those things, and probably anyone who can hear, he's just speaking into these changes, even if no one's really listening.
Okay.
About this has changed, or this is new, or that is old. Yeah.
Roll me one more perception check.
Sure. A 5.
There's a bit of a sandstorm that's coming, not a fierce one, but enough that the vision around the caravan has become blurry. You can see within the city people are shuddering. You can see like the elven market just within the gates is being shuttered. The lanterns are being blown out, that people are beginning to pack away. But it obfuscates your vision to the point where it's hard to make out who is who and what is what. But your helpers from Villery work with you to unpack and get safely inside the gates as they try to shut these gates to the outside before the storm gets worse.
Ebbo is going to, not nervously, but there's going to be a little bit more of an excitement or energy to him getting ready for the storm, and probably getting his cloth and like starting to put it over his mouth and nose, and maybe he has some sort of eye guard that's like cloth that he can kind of see through, at least for the moment being, until it starts getting really bad, and trying to overly kind of push people to get things done, part of the Villery caravan, but they're already doing it, but he's just like emphasizing, more so.
Quickly, we don't have much time. Some of these can be quite serious, even though, yeah, this one seems quite mild. You missed the tie down right there, young man. Quickly, please.
And that's what essentially he's doing.
Cool. Let's go to Dia then. Here. So, Charlie, how do we find Dia as the caravan begins to process into the village? And you can see as the sun is setting, it's getting darker and darker. The winds are picking up, and there's something of a storm coming.
Dia has just carefully set aside her embroidery, tucking away the needle into a fold of the fabric, tying off a knot. And as the wind picks up and pulls at her hair, she strokes it down, and it feels a little dry in her hands. So she pulls out that small bottle of hair oil she's shown Akasha. Tiny green bottle with tiny gold flecks in it, and she'll tip a bit out into her palm and slowly rub it into her hair. She's relaxing, essentially, as we ride into the city. There's little for her to do in this moment. Everything's in its place. What will happen in the city will be more of her business, but she's not in a rush to expend energy until then. I imagine, if anything, she might be keeping Taruk company, kind of making casual conversation if he's deciding to talk to her. But mostly she's just been working on her embroidery and keeping to herself, mulling over the few days or however long we've been on the road. The encounter with Merula at training, Akasha's very interesting proposal to a complete stranger to join the council. That's particularly amusing and interesting, and she's hoping that she will get to follow up with Akasha at some point, but they haven't had a chance to do so yet, and there are other things that's more her job to do while on this trip. But she's kind of relaxing, or at least that's what would be perceptible about her.
Okay. So, as you are riding through the gates in House Jarko's Haldor, Taruk is up at the front. He's like casually with one hand steering the Mechalot, the beast, as the Thrycreen, the guards for House Jarko, are kind of guiding it along either of the large, like gigantic turtles' sides. And he's leaning back with his other hand, like he's got the reins in one hand. He's leaning back with the other hand. His feet are like kicked up, and he's just kind of, his head's rolling from side to side as he kind of takes in the village. And you can roll me a perception check as well.
Ooh. Perception. 15.
Okay. Something catches your vision, catches your gaze out of the corner of your eye, and you glance up as you're passing through the gates behind you, and you can see that there's sort of a parapet built on the back side of the gate that you can walk along. The guards stand up there to keep watch of the road. But there are, as the storm picks up and they're shutting the gates behind you with a loud groan, 3 robed individuals standing over top the gate on this walkway, and each of the robed individuals facing outwards towards the road. They are all holding what looks like a clay pot with some sort of, it looks like maybe a cactus of some kind, like some sort of desert plant in it, and they're staring out along the road as the storm comes. And then Taruk just happens to say from in front of you, I hate Altaruk.
It is rather provincial. Tell me, is there any business I should be aware of before we get fully into the city, town, village?
Oh, well, there's the marketplace, but I'll handle our resupplies. No, you should enjoy yourself. Of course, if you don't trust me to handle the resupplying myself, well, you're welcome to come along, I suppose.
I would be most interested to see you negotiate. Not that I don't trust you, I'm just interested if you're a better negotiator than you are a gambler.
He smiles, the tari, and Taruk has been trying to keep the silt out of his fur this entire journey, and it's a losing battle. It's a constantly getting worse, and at this point he's like scratching his arms a little bit as he shifts around to look at you in the back of the howdah, and he says, I'm not a very good negotiator, but thankfully we have a previously made deal for supplies here, so it should be easy.
Then I ask only one thing, and that's that you don't tell anyone else to have fun from House Jarko. It's early days, too soon for them to have too much fun.
Oh, come now. House Jarko. It is fun. That's what we sell. We sell fun. What
Quite,
worth is it to go on an adventure?
Hence the need not to encourage liberal fun.
He leans forward and squints at you as the sand kind of blows in from the storm outside and says, and what are you going to do while you're in Altaruk? Get into it with the locals.
Well, I'll ask around, check in on House Jarko business where I might, see if there are any opportunities. Mostly, I have very little interest in Altaruk. It's just a stop on the way. If I may, and she'll hold her hands up and there's that slight iridescence from the glitter in the oil, and she'll reach out her hand and gently stroke down the fur on his arm where it's been irritated and rub some of the oil into it. Won't solve the silt problem, but it will help with any irritation.
I think there's a moment where he fusses, like he almost kind of half pulls his arm away, and then he relaxes a little bit and says, yes, that is nice. Where has oil been all my life?
And what a handsome shine it leaves. You look almost like a new man.
Do you really want to come with me? Surely there's something else you can do. I don't want to bore you with grain and water.
You're right, it does sound very dull. You did employ me, however, to keep track of your money situation, and let's be frank, lots of interesting things happen in marketplaces. It's where the deals are made. Should I catch wind of deals being made elsewhere, of course, if you'd permit me to slip away.
Have you ever been to Altaruk before? Do you know this little hole in the ground?
I think I've been through once, twice, maybe, when I was younger. Not too recently. Seems bigger than I remember, which I'm sure is the inverse of what you'd expect.
In Balak, politics are complicated. Business is complicated. But here, everything is so simple. And yet, somehow, without fail, everyone here is always at each other's throats. There's always someone being murdered. There's always some great disagreement. It's a wonder that this place still stands at all, and not just because of the earthquakes. House Tomblador and House Revere would do anything to eradicate each other, and yet here they live together. And it's very awkward. But
Well, simple is boring. And politics are everywhere. People just like to pretend. It's not this politics at every party, every dinner table, in every scrap meal in a dark alley, in every whisper, in every exchanged glance in a marketplace. Politics. It is not.
We managed to get through here without paying a toll, thanks to Horsun. It saved us quite a bit of coin. I was hoping we might manage this. But perhaps you might be able to strike a deal for our return. Oftentimes, the locals want to trade in information. Perhaps you can decide what information is safe to give them, and perhaps you can make some up.
I had wondered what price we were paying for our entry. Coin is simple. And as you say, Altaruk is meant to be a very simple place. I will see what I can come up with. I'm no bard, but I do create things on occasion.
Thank you, Dia. What would I ever do without you?
I hope you never find the answer.
The mechalot comes to a sudden stop. It's kind of jolting for a second. Taruk stumbles back, like almost falls out of his seat, and kind of sits back up again, trying to look cool, and says, before you go, do you have any more of that oil?
Only a little, but she'll pull out that bottle, and she is genuinely hesitant to hand this over, but she will.
I won't use it all, I promise. And he takes a little bit, and he probably puts more on his palm, his furry palm, than he needs because he doesn't know. But he hands it back. It's not empty, but he's taken quite a bit, and he just starts to rub it over his face and behind his ears and like anywhere where he's itching. By the time he's done and he stands up to present himself, and he kind of tries to shake out the silt from his silk robes, he has this strange appearance of being like half wet, furry kind of animal, but half dry because he's only rubbed it on parts of his body. He kind of looks a mess. And he just sort of beams and he says, "All right, how do I look? Am I ready to make deals?"
They won't know what hit them. And she'll push out a hand and kind of stroke through a little bit of it. And the other effect that oil has with that glisten to it is it seems to give like a reflective effect, not just a wet effect, but small amount of golden shine, and it'll increase the longer this oil sits on this fur. He could end up with some very interesting fur by the end of this. It's not like full on bleach or anything, but it definitely has an effect of highlighting. Frosted tips for
great.
Taruk, I think.
All right, let me take a note of that so I don't forget. We're gonna need new art for this. Okay. So the caravan begins to break apart. Is there anything before Taruk leaves? Anything else Dia wants to do?
Taruk, I will ask one favor, if I might. You remember when I came to you on the night before we left? I'd been rather interrupted on my way by some appalling attempt at an assassination. If you see any sign of my friends, if you could send them in another direction and give me some warning, I would appreciate it.
Oh, House Salaxa. Well, they shouldn't be allowed in Altaruk, but they never really follow the rules. If I see anything suspicious, I'll send one of the Thrycreen to watch over you.
Most houses don't follow the rules, Taruk. That's the fun of having rules.
I always follow the rules. And he hops out of the side of the mechalot and slides down the shell and lands on the ground down below. It takes several hours for everyone to process their caravans, to store their goods safely, to pay off a couple of swindlers along the way for things that do you really need? Do you really need this extra rope? Well, it's helpful, but they jack up the price. And there's a whole process here. Anytime a caravan comes into the village, everyone's trying to make as much money as possible, and it slows down unloading. Taruk announces that House Jarko will be funding the restocking of the caravan supplies before everyone sets off again in the morning. And House Sereno announces that they are going to be staying in the Elven Marketplace with friends of the house the evening. They sort of depart on their own. And Taruk and several of his companions head off as well. Merula, Lord Lucius, having already had the discussion with Merula, he just sort of it's like in the middle of unpacking and getting everything squared away with your caravan. He's just gone. He just leaves. He heads towards the market without a word. And by the end of
Perfectly
2
all right. I
hours,
didn't need to know where I was staying.
you can follow too. I mean, you're happy to go find him and ask him. We'll say that the house Van is with him as well. But the head of the house quartermaster, who's kind of come along with you, has said that they're finding lodging. Either it'll be in the Elven Market or perhaps even in the Council Manor, which oftentimes lets people stay who are wealthier, sort of guests of VIPs. But everyone begins to break apart into different directions, and you get a better sense, everyone, of Altaruk, what it's like. It's not a bad little village on the inside. It's actually rather nice. The homes have been rebuilt often, just like the walls outside, so it actually looks rather new compared to many places in the world of Dark Sun. And once the storm kind of passes, and it's strange, it never really seems to get into the village. You can hear the howling on the outside for a while, and then it passes, but there's not much of the storm that passes into the village itself. The air here is cooler than the roads and the deserts around. And the village houses a merchant quarter with a small elven market on the outskirts of the town. And the booths usually would stay open late at night, but tonight, all of the lanterns outside of the booths and buildings in the marketplace have been shuttered. They've been turned off. There's also a little arena. It has a stone sign that names it as the Blood Sand Arena. But within this sort of open, mini Coliseum outdoor space, there's no one. It's completely empty. There's no lights. Business is closed until the morning. But at the center of town, where there is a tavern, which is fairly large, 3 stories tall, there's also the council hall. It's a large, flat stone manor wherein the town's leaders meet. Town issues are brought forth on a daily basis. And as it happens, the town is celebrating tonight with a party. So you can see as sort of the markets are starting to shut down and the caravans are getting stocked up, and all of you find yourself sort of on the outskirts of the supply area of the caravan, that there's lights on in the tavern, there's lights on in some homes, but that the large stone manor, the council hall, the center of town, there's many, many lights, and there are people outside, gathered outside, moving in and out of the building. And I want to say, too, that there's just a magical moment where the guards have sort of gone off and done their own business. There's still people from your caravan around you, but all 4 of you, in a moment, find yourselves just sort of standing and looking around. And you all see the building there, and you're all together.
Well then, hello everyone. I don't believe I've met any of your acquaintance. My name is Ebo Stranit, from the village Villery.
Hello, I'm Horsun of Alec.
Oh,
I believe where it is near where you're from in your village. I wouldn't be certain, but well met. And he extends his hand.
Oh, yes. I have a quite a strong shake.
Well, not so bad yourself.
Thank you. I certainly try. Nice to meet you, Horsun. Who we have here?
And I'm just gesturing to either one of you. I'm not pointing anyone out.
If I might, I would like to introduce Merula of House Cyrano.
Oh,
Akacha. Lady Dia. I'm
Oh, my
Merula.
apologies.
No, I understand. Most people from elven backgrounds are from that house. Hello. Nice to meet you.
hello. Very nice meeting you. I have not interacted with anyone from your house before, but you certainly seem quite pleasant.
There aren't very many of us, so I guess that isn't Villery, you said.
Oh, yes, Villery, yes.
I used to travel to a place not far from there.
Oh, someplace that I might know?
No, just trail riding, that sort of thing. 6 deception, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Maybe we can discuss your amazing trips nearby sometime. Be quite
No,
interested.
I mean, yes. Sure.
No.
I
Yes,
would
no,
love to. Yes.
Oh.
And this is Dia.
Hello, dear. Nice to meet you. Like I said before, previously, I'm Ebo Stranit from Villery.
I have heard much about you from the Lady Akasha.
Hopefully, good things were said.
She finds you quite remarkable, I believe.
That is quite very kind of Akasha.
I'm just an artist, I'm afraid no one particularly important given the caravan. But perhaps you have seen some of my works. If you've ever visited Balak, that is.
Oh yes, on occasion I have visited Balak, yeah, but art is certainly quite important. Something that I've grown to appreciate over time. So don't sell yourself short. I'm sure that you are quite magnificent as an artist.
You're very kind.
Horsun will look
Half as
over to
good an
Ebo.
artist as well.
Oh, go ahead.
If you're half as good an artist as you are a fighter, you must be extraordinary.
Both require discipline and attention to detail. Although I must admit, most of my skill, if it could be described as so, when it comes to physicality, comes from Horsun's good advice.
He's an excellent tutor.
I just say the words. You actually do the work, so well deserved, if I may say so.
Look, you're nearly not sulking. I'm very impressed. Smile, Horsun.
Well,
No harm in smiling, Horsun. And I see that certainly your students, if I may, your students are very quite happy of your teachings. All of you are of a fighting sort is then.
Oh no.
Yeah, I back in the day was a gladiator in the Criterion.
Oh, wow.
And did you
Yeah.
get a chance to watch many fights?
No, I have never got myself seeing the fights. Although every time I've entered the city, while there was one, the city seemed to be alive, and you can hear the chants and the screams from quite far away.
Yeah, well, some people enjoy it, watching folks fight for sport, maybe get killed. It's a favor of the masses. It's people are weird.
Oh, certainly, it takes all kinds. Um, but I'm sure, maybe, uh, I will check out one of these events, one of these days.
Oh,
Well,
if you wouldn't mind having a buddy, I'd love watching with you.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot participate myself, obviously. I am not, as talented in many of the skills you folks have said, such as artistry and combat, that is.
Well, to be fair, I've seen men who look like you dismantle men who look like me, so it's not the size of the claw in a fight; it's the size of the fight in the claw. You know.
Oh, certainly. That is, I would love to meet a gentleman of that sort. It'd be quite fascinating.
Well, I mean, if you're ever interested in learning, we might have space for you.
Yeah, I will keep that in mind. Alright. So, Merula, Horsun, have any of you been to Altaruk before?
I have not.
I see.
Would I know of like a corner store or a little shop, just like a hole in the wall, great food, but like just, of course I'm talking about food, but like just a hole in the wall, like you gotta have to, like, especially with everyone shutting down, like I'd have to know someone inside and like knock for them to like allow me to like come eat at their establishment. And I don't even know if that place still exists, given it's been such a long time that I've been here. Since I've been here.
Yeah, we'll say that the inn and tavern that's near the council hall, near the city center of the village. And its title is the End of Sea Tavern. And if it's still the same place, it's probably one of those places. I imagine that it always looks the same, even though they rebuild the building, they always build it the same way. And maybe the ownership has changed many times over the years. So, like, the title, the name of the tavern has changed, but the recipes always stay the same.
Well, if none of you have visited before, there's certainly a place I love visiting every time I'm here. End of Sea Tavern, that is. Yeah. Would you love to, or like, to accompany me to something quite nice?
Absolutely.
I would love to go with
I mean,
anyone who knows this town.
wait, I have a proposal I would like to put out there. So, in this tavern, right, I'd be more than happy to buy food and drink for everyone if you would all accompany me to a party afterward.
Oh, what kind of parties are you speaking into?
It's a party where There are people there for sure, and there might be some voting. I didn't pay too much attention to that part, but definitely people, and it's sure to be a good time. Can I roll a persuasion?
What are you trying to persuade? Are you trying to persuade that it is going to be a good time? That it sounds
Yes.
fun?
Yep, and not
Sure.
nearly as panic-inducing as one might think if there's voting involved.
As one might think, yes. This one.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Tell me, Horsun, who is paying for the
Yeah.
drinks at the party?
Well, I don't know, it's a party, so don't they just give those out there? Right? They want people there, so as like a promotional thing, wouldn't you just like give out drinks? It makes sense to me, right?
Very on House Draco policy.
Well, I mean, fine. I mean, I can maybe get the drinks. It depends on what they're. One thing at a time, okay? It's
It sounds like quite the adventure.
What
Yes,
was your
okay.
persuasion check?
Yeah, I'm
Out of
doing
curiosity.
that now.
Okay.
11.
So anyone with a passive insight of 11 or better would see beneath Horsun a little bit here. What is he not saying about
That-
how he feels all this?
So, for everyone that can perceive it, the crux of the deal that he made to get in here would involve going to this party and, swaying the election massively.
Okay, so let's say that anyone with a passive insight 11 or more gets the sense that Horsun is already committed to going to this party, and that's why he's trying to rope you into it as well.
I can see through it, but Ebo is totally fine. Just going.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
I
give
sense
him
no
shit for this
ulterior
later.
motive. No
What's the
ulterior motive
plan?
whatsoever.
Is the plan that we
Well-
want to go to the tavern and then the party? Is that the idea here?
It is quite a mini
think
pub
so.
crawl that we are arranging. Yes.
We're pre-gaming
Good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Prinking.
during our game. Yeah.
So as we'll say, like you can continue to kind of walk and talk a little bit. It's not a huge city or town, village. It really only about 650 people here permanently. Everyone else are travelers in and out. So it's, smaller than a single district of Balak. It's not a long walk to get to the downtown. And as you're kind of walking along the roads, you pass by the Elven district, which is where the markets are. It's this big open space. The buildings are more spaced out. Sometimes it's just like stalls, imagine stalls in a lot. And then sometimes it's a string of storefronts with basically wide alleyways between them, made very easily for beasts to go through so that people who are traveling in can drop off packages and large bits of supplies. And so it's a wide open space, and you see people lingering about in the market even though the lights are out. As you get a little bit closer, still with the markets there with you, you can see the End of the Sea tavern and inn, this 3-story tavern made mostly with like baked stone. You can see that there's a little bit of one of the walls has started to cave in along one side, and you can hear a little bit of what sounds like a strange like mix of rhythmic, like percussive and woodwind music trickling out through the doors. You don't actually see very many people standing on the outside of the tavern. Underneath its porch are a couple of individuals. There are lights on inside, but most of the people seem to be either milling about outside of the large stone manor in the center of town, or you can actually see their silhouettes through the windows with the lights of the manor, that there are many people on the inside of the manor.
Oh, we're reviving. Horsun, if you may, do you mind opening the door? And be careful. It's known to swing back quite fast, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up. And he'll grab the door slowly, carefully, and like intentionally trying very hard to be gentle with the door.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will head in.
Okay. Is there anybody who has like other objectives they want to try to accomplish before they go into the tavern?
A little bit.
Okay.
Nothing too overt or disruptive. And probably nothing that will take time. I think honestly, they're doing it in moments as we proceed. But Merula wants to get a better sense of Altaruk overall. Perhaps a bird's eye view, one could say. And so just exploration, like, check for if there's something that piques their interest. Or piques their interest, I suppose.
Oh no. Yeah. Do you imagine that Corey, your familiar, is flying like over top of the city in circles, or are they flying like through alleyways? What's their sort of approach here?
I think it's a loop around the city to get a sense of layout, and then probably a slightly lower flyby, but not like through things in particular,
Okay.
because I am trying to go through things, and this is like those quick moments that I can spare, so I don't myself walk into something. I might walk into something. I'm very tired. But just big to small in the time they have available, but really just to see if there's something interesting.
Roll me a perception check for Corey.
How do I like investigation? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be an all-natural 10.
Okay.
I'm
wait,
so
is
tired.
it a 10 app? Oh yeah.
It's a 10 with the modifier. Yep.
With a modifier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was it without that though? Because your familiar is not as exhausted physically as you are.
That's true. I mean, I rolled the disadvantage, so
Okay.
whichever one you would care to count.
Okay.
It would be an 18 were it not at disadvantage.
Corey flies over the city, and you can see that there's families in their homes, especially the ones that have lit candles or lanterns inside the windows. Though many of the homes are dark, there are small bands of people, might be mercenaries, they might be merchants and their friends hanging out in the Elven Quarter. You actually, for a moment, I think, would see like House Sereno representatives, so Lord Atlas and Lady Akasha, enter into a building inside the Elven Market. But we'll say that your familiar also catches glimpse of Van deep in the Elvish Market, in a dark area of it, standing outside of an alleyway, just kind of hands folded into his armpits, kind of looking around warily. And he glances once over his shoulder, looking into this dark, more narrow alleyway, squinting to see if he can see anything, and then he looks back. Yeah. Oh.
perch.
Okay.
And I will check in periodically, just in case this might be... I mean, I am idly curious about what my father's doing, and I know the two of them left together. So maybe it's something interesting. I don't know. But perch.
Perch. Cool. Anybody else doing anything before you head into the tavern?
I would like to double back to the caravan, to the house Jarko, kind of main hodl. And she's going to give explicit instructions to the guards that if anyone touches any of her things, she will have their hands personally removed. Essentially, in her most intimidating Dia, with some savage gladiator metal blood descriptions of what she will have done to them if any of her things are touched.
We'll say that Untak is amongst the guards, right? Amongst the House Jarko guards. And roll me an intimidation check.
Right. Dia, please be scary, okay? I'm not asking much. Just be scary. It's one time. 7, super scary. Wait, I have inspiration. What does that do in this game?
You can spend your inspiration to have advantage on a roll.
Okay, that wouldn't have helped me anyway.
Yeah. So Ntak, like some of the other guards, don't take it seriously, and Ntak jabs 2 of his spears. He has 4 arms and 4 spears. He has 2 of them out currently. Sort of jabs them at the other guards just to kind of get them in order, and he turns to you. You can't really read the expression of a thri-kreen. Thri-kreen don't express themselves physically in a way that's perceptible to other cultures. Unless you've really gotten to know them. You spend a lot of time with them. The head sort of tilts to the side and they clack their mandibles twice. And then you get a flash of an image. And it's you and Ntak standing and looking at this caravan. And all of the guards are standing around in the center of the caravan, weeping. And all of their hands are in a pile on the ground. That flashes in your head for a moment. Ntak clacks his mandibles twice more.
I've always liked you. Glad we understand each other.
And he kind of just, without any kind of response at all, just turns and scurries away and continues to go to work.
Now to drink. About 10. Wander off in the direction of the contingency.
The tavern. So you'll catch up here in a moment as everyone else is entering the tavern. Merula entering the tavern as well.
Yes, I think they are visibly spacey every so often. That might just be a habit of Merula. Who knows?
Who knows?
Though one could conceivably have an intuition about such things were one familiar. One could say. I didn't even realize as the sentence started that it was going to end in a pun.
So the 3 of you, followed closely behind by Dia, enter into this tavern. It's a large space with many tables, stone tables on the inside, a couple of stone tables on the outside, underneath this wooden awning that attaches to the stone walls. And much like I think like a Wild West saloon, almost above the stone awning or the wooden awning is a second story that you could step out onto the top of the awning from the windows there, the rooms there that overlook the city street. So you have 2 floors of rooms you can stay on up above, and then the tavern itself, a long L-shaped bar made out of stone that has a large curtained off walkway that leads back to the kitchens, and you can smell just this very, very spicy smelling. You're not sure if it's stew or meat or what, but it's some sort of very heavily spiced dish that has just recently been cooked, and that smell hits you as you enter this place. There's a couple of individuals at the bar with these clay bowls that are scooping food out of the clay bowls. They've got clay cupware as well. They're drinking whatever it is they sell here. At one corner of the bar is a bard. It's a Thry-Kreen bard who is just sort of sitting down, head tilted up towards the ceiling. And with two of their arms, they're shaking these, they look sort of like stone rattles, these percussive instruments. And then with their other two arms, they are playing some sort of weird, long, but not quite straight. It's bent in the center woodwind instrument. It's creating this kind of like upbeat sound that changes every 30 to 45 seconds is a new song. They don't play long songs. And so you have this upbeat, percussive music playing, only a couple of people in the bar. But one of the individuals in the bar is a young tari that is wrapped in just rags, like torn, ripped, dirty rags. And they don't have a drink. They don't have any food. Their head is just down in their hands at the end of the bar. That is what you see as you enter.
Yeah, this place is still quite wonderful. I think the best seating is right over there. The rest of the seating can be quite wobbly, which is can be quite uncomfortable.
My goodness, you really know this place.
Not much has changed here, from what I've seen.
Well, if you'll want to get settled, I'll grab everyone a drink and hop on over. So, what's everyone's drink of choice?
For me, if we have several parties to go to, I will start with a tea, and possibly later at the party I will have a beverage.
All right, playing it safe. I can appreciate that. Dear.
I'll take a bowl of whatever's just finished cooking and a small measure of the local spirit.
Sure. Merula?
Oh, I'm sure the house wine will be lovely here. Thank you, Horsun.
All right, any food for you or Ebo?
Yes, just Dia reminded me, of course, if the food is just as wonderful as it was before, I would like a bowl as well.
Right. Food?
Clearly, I should follow in Ebo's footsteps, familiar as you are with this place. I would be foolish not to follow your expertise in things culinary.
Always wise
yes.
to line one's stomach before a night of partying with House Jarko. Side eyes Horsun heavily.
Hey, it was a long time ago, ish.
If it's the kind of thing we're doing, Horsun, make it a double boil, please, so I can get my constitution up for the night.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll get that. I'll be right back. And then Horsun will go up to the bar.
Ebo, if I might, a quick question. On the way into town, I saw a very curious sight. 3 figures on the wall with plant pots. What is that about?
Which thing are you speaking into? Because you're saying the 3 3 plant pots with what inside of them?
Oh, it was 3 robed figures, and they had these pots, and it seemed some sort of desert plant was growing in them. Only a momentary glance as I looked back.
Yes, that is, similar to my walking stick. bamboo. Quite a resilient plant. That can be used in all sorts of ways.
How interesting.
Yes. I find them equally fascinating. For how uh, strong they can be, despite well, you know, how unforgiving this place can be.
Tis curious the things that grow in harsh conditions. And she'll give a smile to Merula.
I confess I don't know much about the ecology outside of the Balakan area. How can anything grow here?
There is much. There's been much research done lately, and very well done techniques that emphasize horticulture and reusing many of our resources very efficiently.
I suppose we have much to learn from you then.
Yes, given amount of time, I would, yes, I'd love to teach you.
Horsun. Meanwhile, at the bar, as they're kind of gathering, you approach. There's two individuals here. There's the Terry I described, and there's an old human who's drinking from their cup. They've finished their bowl, and they're just sort of like sitting back and relaxing comfortably. The bartender himself is this sort of old, gruff-looking elf who, not as old as Ebo or Lord Atlas, but he just looks like he's been doing this for way too long. And he's an elf, so he lives a long time. He looks like he might have been tending bar for, 100 years. And he is nonplussed as you approach, doesn't quite look at you as he's cleaning up and drying one of these ceramic cups with some sort of thick white cloth. And he puts the cloth back and he just kind of slides the cup towards you and he says, what can I get for you?
Hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. May I get? Oh crap! I get 4 bowls of whatever's cooking, and can I get 2 of those as like a double size, like for like the big, and then can I also get what they want? Screw it. Can I get 4 shots of the strongest stuff you got?
When you say the strongest stuff I got, you want what I give to half giants? Or you want what I give to other people?
Okay. Let's flip a coin, see what happens. I'm not too
You got a
particular.
coin, friend?
Yeah. Hold on. And he'll reach in a leather pouch, shove somewhere dark, and pull out a little ceramic piece. Put it in his hand, and flip it up into the air. And it goes pretty high. Like he's practiced this a lot. He's like, call it light side or not light side. Wait.
Go ahead and roll me. Go ahead and roll me. Yeah, roll me 1d2. And he calls light side.
I got a critical.
I mean, yes, you got a 2. The ceramic coin flips up into the air, and it lands, and when it lands, it breaks into 8 ceramic pieces, 8 bits, which is what ceramic coins are meant to do. They're meant to be breakable into 8 pieces, but you got enough height on it that it smashes and it breaks. However, all of the sides facing up are darker. They're the darker half of the coin, and therefore you win. I guess you win, but then he kind of scratches his head and he says, okay, so I guessed it wrong. Does that mean you're getting the half giant stuff or you're getting the other stuff?
I should have established that. Dealer's choice. I can handle it.
Fine. He scoops the 8 bits into his hand, the coin, the 8 bits into his hand, and he stuffs it into a pouch on his belt, and he turns and moves into the back room. Horsun, roll me a perception check.
Okay. 21, my friend.
You're sure of one thing. Your coin purse, when you went into it to get the ceramic piece, there was more coins in there than there should have been.
More coins?
More. I know, usually for adventurers it's the opposite problem, but there's more coins in there.
How? What? I'm not going to complain. So, woo, living it up.
You can also see Horson, the 2 figures of the bar, this L-shaped bar with you as the bartender goes to the back to get your stew and to get your drinks. You can see the young Terry sitting down at the bar, head in hands, just like, you're not sure if they're crying or if they're laughing, but they're making a soft sound in the back of their throat into their hand. And then the very relaxed old man at the other end of the bar. You're waiting for your drinks and food to arrive. And Terry are, again, they're like Taruk. They're ratkin. They're ratfolk in Dark Sun. But Taruk is unusual. He's big and muscular. Most Terry are very small, about the size of halflings, maybe a little bit taller, and much thinner as well than Taruk. And this is a young Terry, probably a young adult.
He'll look to the old man at the end of the bar, one with not his head buried, and go, hey, he'll kind of stage whisper, what's the deal? And reference the Terry making weird noises.
He looks around and he leans on the bar, and then ticks his chin up towards the Terry at the end. It's been like that here for days now. Bartender been letting them stay here for free. According to the young Terry over there, most of his tribe got taken. Doesn't know where they were taken to, but he's certain it was Altaruk. Of course, none of us seen any Terry around here, so I think he's just lost.
Have you seen him eat or drink at all in the last little bit?
A little bit, but not too much.
All right. Well, thanks for the heads up. And then turn around, directing his gaze towards the Terry. Hey, friend. What's your name?
You hear him sniffling, like rubs his long nose with both hands and kind of brushes his hands off onto his tattered robes, and he looks up to you. His shoulders very, very narrow, and he's looking up to you with dark eyes, and he says, I'm Vermic. Who are you?
Vermic. I'm I'm Horsun. From Balak. Where are you from?
Balak, you're from Balak? You came all this way?
Yeah.
When you were on the road, when you were coming from Balak, you didn't see a large folk of hairy folks that look like me, did you? Wearing clothes like mine?
I have not. I did see a giant though, and that's pretty much it.
Did you smell the giant's breath by chance?
I did not. What was it? What kind of smell were you looking for?
I'm sorry, it's just all my family. I don't know where they went, and I've been looking everywhere. No one here in Altaruk can help me, but I swear, I don't know where else they would have gone. They were heading right this way, right towards the village.
You think they're here?
I don't know where else they would have gone. Horsun, your name was, yeah?
Yeah.
No. I'm Vermek, and my family, my tribe, we live outside of Balak. We trade with Balak all the time, where the desert rose. We have a little village just a little ways northeast of the town here, and they were coming here to trade, and they never came back. Everyone here says they never saw any of us.
But we can dig into it. Let's talk. Well, first, are you hungry? Thirsty?
They've been giving me some water a little bit every day, but I haven't had much to eat. To be honest, I don't feel like eating. I'm hoping someone walks through that door and knows something, anything.
Yeah, I empathize with your concern, but in the meantime, why don't you come and sit down with me and my friends? We can talk about it and see what we can do to help find your family.
He squints down towards where Merula, Dia, and Ebo are kind of chatting, and like furrows his nose and says, "What are you? Some sort of mercenaries or something?"
No, we're on vacation.
He gives you a kind of a weak, ratty grin and waves his hand back. He says, "Well, I've not had much company, not many people nice around here. If you don't mind, I won't bother you none. I just want somewhere to stay until I hear something, anything."
It's okay, Vermic. Everybody shits.
Sure. Gets up from the stool at the bar. You can hear the bartender call out from the back, "Just another minute, I'll be out."
How much to add another bowl of food to that order?
"I'll put it on your tab."
Thanks.
Young man, I know you're quite excited about the giant spirits. However, you forgot my tea that I was looking forward to.
I was talking to Horsun, not to the person,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know if the person heard it. They could totally groan if they heard it.
He's not. The order's not ready yet, but I totally did not get you tea. Let me go back and see if I can change that. And then he'll go back to the bar. Can I add some tea? Whatever the seasonal tea might be.
There's no answer from the hallway, the clothed hallway behind the bar.
Cool, thanks. I'll go back to the table. Yeah,
Horsun,
she'll be out.
Horsun, as you kind of turn around to return to the table, 4 individuals walk into the bar, pushing open the swinging wooden doors that lead out to the porch beyond. And as they do, the old man who's seated at the bar and the bard, who is in the back corner, the bard stops playing, skitters up to their feet, and begins to edge along the back wall. The old man, just sort of like, as soon as he sees these individuals walk in, he stands up and pushes back along the bar, just kind of edging his way towards the very corner of the bar. These 4 individuals wearing black robes with hoods over their heads. Roll me perception checks. See who gets the highest.
Seems like the hazing part of the frat party.
I double-clicked on accident, but the first one is a 21.
Cool.
19 for
22.
myself.
Wow, your rolls are great.
I'm going to take an auto fail. I was not paying Merula attention. I was paying Corey attention at the time. Also,
Yes.
at whatever time it became clear that we were getting a drink other than wine, definitely wasn't paying attention to that. It'll be a delightful surprise.
Great. So there's 2 things that are noticed at once. One is far away on the other side of town through the eyes of Corey, who's perched over this dark little alleyway. There's a light that goes on. It's like a small lantern light. It creates a small glow within the alleyway that allows you to see something that's happening down below. Van is still standing on the outside, just kind of looking back every once in a while, nervously. But down in the middle of the alleyway, there are 3, they look like merchants, but they have a hardened look in their eyes. They look like the kinds of people that you wouldn't want to meet in a back alleyway. And your father in his fine black toga etched with gold. And as Corey peers over, this lantern from one of the merchants' hands, creating a glow in your father's eyes, he gets out a small pouch of coins and he hands it over, counting and then handing over the entire pouch. And you see the merchants each hand him a small sack. He pulls a number of items from it, like he's counting them, but it's not coins inside what your father's buying. It's strange things, like little pieces of animal carcasses, like fingers, like feathers, like strange multicolored beads. Each item that he pulls out doesn't make sense with the rest of them, but you recognize several of them as being spell components. And he counts, he ties up the bags, he speaks quietly in the dark to the merchants, and then he sweeps his toga around and marches out of the alleyway towards where Van is standing. He doesn't look back at Van, he just snaps his fingers and Van scurries to start following. And I think it was at the same time that's being seen, Dia, you catch just enough light underneath one of these hoods of these individuals coming into the bar, these 4 individuals. You see that it's humanoid, like very, very pale skin for someone who lives out here, which is quite unusual, and that their face is marked on all sides with tattoos. You can't quite make out what the tattoos are, but it covers most of their face. As they step into the bar, and Merula is sort of out of it for a moment, and everyone else begins to scurry like you do, They all draw. Yes?
How close are we to this door that they've just come in through?
Ebo, where did Ebo choose to sit? Was his favorite seat near the door, or was it further away?
No, it was basically opposite of the bar, and like wherever the bartender was going in and out of the kitchen, it's like pressed up against the kitchen wall, essentially like to the back corner that's like touching the kitchen wall / across from the bar. So kind of the furthest back we can be is kind of the nice area that people don't want to go to because sometimes the food smells can just be overwhelming, but Emma likes to sit there because he can just smell everything that's going on in the kitchen.
Alright, then Dio will just watch.
They draw their weapons. One of them a pair of red stone daggers, the others obsidian and bone scimitars in either hand, and they begin to advance 1 step, 2 steps, and then rushing towards your table. There's a crash in the back of the bar from the direction the bartender disappeared off into. And then from somewhere else, somewhere deeper in the tavern, a scream. And I think that seems like a good place to go to break. We'll be back.
Man.
We'll deal with this here in just a few minutes. Stick around, everybody. Thank you for hanging out tonight. Check out some of our art and some of the things we're going to show you during our break. But don't stick. Grab a snack, grab a drink. Don't be gone too long because it's going to be fun when we get back. Welcome back, everyone. So when we left off, you were trying to have a couple of pre-game drinks, a nice chat, a couple of bowls of stew at the local inn and tavern in the town of Altaruk. However, you were interrupted, unfortunately, when 4 black-robed individuals walked into the bar, scaring everyone who was there. There was a scream from deeper within the tavern, somewhere maybe up above, a cry and a sound of clattering cookware from the back behind the bar where the kitchens lie. And then these 4 individuals advanced. 3 of them with scimitars moving quickly. They leap up on top of the nearest table and they begin leaping from table to table to table towards you. Meanwhile, the individual wielding 2 daggers off to their sides, their hood down, stands back, not advancing yet. And I need everyone, we are going to use active initiative, but I want to see some dexterity saving throws. Oh, good.
Horsun got a 4.
We all just rolled so badly.
Yeah,
What did everybody else get?
5.
I got a 10 with a 6 modifier.
How about Merula?
22.
Yeah.
Ready.
So, and I'm going to roll for Vermic, the young Terry who you invited to join you at your table. Okay. So, Merula, you're going to get to act first, and then these newcomers are going to act, and then we'll pass it around using active initiative. So when your turn's done, you can choose who to pass it off to next, narratively. So Merila, you see them leaping from table to table, a pair of scimitars in each hand, one of them standing back, there's sound going on everywhere, and a moment before, Merila was looking through the eyes of her familiar elsewhere in the town, so you snap back.
So, I think purely because they have just come back and they see this, they're operating so quickly in part because it is more instinctual than anything else. So, as they see those people hopping from table to table, they slide under the table like a little kid, so that when the enemies get there, they can come up and introduce the dagger to an Achilles tendon. It's rather the favored anatomical terrain of guys.
Roll me a stealth check.
Yep.
And remember, you have disadvantage for this.
Oh, I remember. Yes, it would have been lovely to use that 17 on the dice, but I'm afraid we'll have to settle for the 13 on the dice, so it's only a 24.
Only a 24. So despite your exhaustion, like you said, the instinct kicks in and you very quickly scurry under the table, getting ready as they're coming forward. Vermic, this Terry, also kicks over their chair on accident, panicked, and they scurry under the table too. They don't grab any weapons. They're just pushing themselves up against the back wall, and they kind of their nose, their whiskers tighten up as they glance over at you. You can see that they're starting to panic.
Wait. And with one hand, they slide one of their bone daggers over to Vermic and pat the top of it. And then before they can see whether or not Vermic grabs it, their leg has arrived.
Yep. Go ahead and make me an attack roll with advantage. As the first of these 3 individuals leaping from table to table, they all land on the ground and they're all focused on a single individual. Merila probably wouldn't see this, but everyone else here at the table who hasn't had a chance to react yet, as you're starting to react, they're just there a little faster than you. All of them are turned, weapons ready, moving towards Ebo.
Oh dear. So that will hit for 27 to attack and 19 damage.
That's enough to take this individual out. So what's this moment look like?
So Merula was stabbing into the leg, which I think overbalances their opponent, who then falls right in front of them and can just for a moment see Merula right in the eyes. And then Merula yanks back the other bone dagger and quickly stabs in to right there, for the carotid. So ends our friend.
Unnamed hooded figure.
We
yeah, there's
hardly
no
knew ye.
We hardly knew thee. There's no look of fear. Even after they collapse, there's no look of pain. There's a look of... Roll me an insight check.
Well, thank goodness I'm at disadvantage because I would hate to have used that natural 20. Let's go with the 3 instead.
Okay. You're not sure, but it's intense. It's a wide-eyed look, but it's not fear. It's something else. And then they're gone. And Vermic squeaks next to you. Horsun, I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, man. Of course you target the meat. 10.
You've recently, for maybe the first time or one of the only times in your life, been introduced to being attacked within your mind. And so you're a little more aware this time that it happens, that something is happening. And as you're looking around you for this moment, as these individuals are rushing forward, all of a sudden the tavern that you're in, it's not this tavern. It's the place where you spend most of your time in Balak. It's somewhere that's like almost home for you. And there's a woman that you know on the far side running towards you, and a fire catches in the middle of the tavern on the wood, and it begins to spread, separating you from her. She's calling out your name. This is an ability that causes you to have fear, to be frightened, until you can succeed on your saving throws. You get to make them at the end of each of your turn, and there are other effects that might come into play as well. But that happens. That's what you see. These other individuals are still around you, these attacking individuals, but there's also this entirely other thing that only you can witness. And at least part of you feels that it's real. Meanwhile, the other 2 robed individuals with scimitars, as the first one goes down, one of them steps over the body and steps right towards you, Ebo. I will say that, would Ebo have stood up in this time?
Yeah, Ebo would just be surprised. He was enjoying his little 2 bowls of stew, and he was just like, just shocked.
Yeah. All right, well, these 2 individuals move right for you. The one steps over the body of this other figure that just dropped on the ground. It was very quickly dispatched. Scimitar in either hand, and it's chop, like right over the head, straight down towards you while you're seated. Because you're seated and mechanically prone, it's going to have advantage.
Sure.
This is a 16 hit.
It sure does. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it does. It sure does.
And a 17 on the second attack, Ebo.
Yeah, both hit.
Okay. So these two blades come down quickly as everyone's starting to react because these figures are extremely fast. I mean, they're parkouring across this tavern. And they get to Ebo first, and the two blades come down from the first attacker. One of them cuts you in your arm, tearing off some of your cloth, some of the clothes that you wear in the process, and a trail of blood. And then the second one cuts across, like towards your face, and it just catches your cheek, opens up part of your cheek. Ebo.
Mhm.
Does Ebo do anything narratively in response?
Not narratively. He just grasps on his wound, and like looks wildly like he's never experienced such hostility.
The second individual leaps up and grabs onto a hanging. It's it's almost like a chandelier, but with candles, and swings towards you, and then tries to drop down on top of you with both of their scimitars at the same time.
Okay.
Candelier. That was Sam's idea. I like it.
Nice.
I'm innocent of all crimes.
It's going to be a 17 and a 22.
Yeah. They both hit.
Okay. How's Ebo looking right now?
Pretty gashed up at the moment. He is just holding on to his wounds, and but like there's gonna be like some sort of like wild look in his eye, and then maybe some complete focus at some point when he's able to compose himself amidst all this happening to him.
It's going to be 7 slashing damage and 3 more slashing damage as they kind of attack in concert. The first one comes at you to kind of open you up with a couple of a couple of slashes that are meant to basically keep you from standing up and defending yourself. The second one crashes down on top of you. One of the blades, again, scratches you. It's not a terrible blow, but one of them actually cuts into your flesh, into your side, and the two of you go tumbling off the back of your chair onto the ground, and you're currently sort of like rolling around together on the ground. That's the end of their turn, though, and I want to give it to you, Ebo.
Yeah. I'm going to grab... No one's seen this before, but... I'm gonna grab under my robe and grab a bone, and if anyone's paying attention, you're gonna see on the bone there's gonna be like stuff written in giant that's like stained inside the grooves of it. And he's just gonna go and like start muttering this incantation and grabbing onto the closest gentleman that he's around, and he's gonna cast Vampiric Touch to because he's hurting. He's just like, I gotta live, and get sustenance back. So he's gonna concentrate for up to a minute, to try and do this. And I think I can make a spell attack within each creature, against a creature within your reach. So just the first one I see.
The one who's like tumbling around on the ground with you. Let me ask you this: are you casting this normally?
No, I'm giving it a kick because I know that the people who are surrounding me most likely are going to be the people I draw out of, not hopefully the new folks who I have beside Horsun. If Horsun's nearby, Ebo would make some sort of intelligence check of just like knowing that hopefully this person's beefy because they look like it, and draw and try and kick it up a bit. The spell a bit.
We'll say that within the range of this spell is Horsun and these two attackers. And this is, go ahead and check this out. We'll use our homebrew rules for defiling magic, which we don't get to use very often. I'm excited about. So you get to choose one of the following. You can cast this spell without paying its material component costs. You can cast it with a +2 to attack or to the spell save DC. You can cast it as though it were one level higher, or you can cast it and immediately regain the spell slot.
Right now, I'm going to make sure that I hit. So I'm just going to do a +2 to bonus attack to roll.
Okay.
So I'll roll.
Horsun needs to make a Constitution saving throw, as do these two individuals who are attacking. What's your spell save DC?
Spell save is 15. Oh, and 17, I guess. If it's gonna, is it both or just one? Is it an or cause or?
One.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
and. It's +2
Okay.
bonus to attack and spell save.
And spell save DC. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Horsun is going to take 10 necrotic damage.
Yummy.
One of the attackers saves and one of them fails. Let's see here. Let's roll this too. So Horsun, that's enough. There is, let's say, like on the table is a tiny little plant. It's like just a tiny little desert plant that's put out as a centerpiece on this table. It's close to you as all of this is happening. Horsun, you feel incredibly sick to your stomach as Ebo is rolling around on the ground with this attacker, and like your skin begins to crinkle, like it looks like it's aging almost. It's sort of turning color, and you feel like you're about to retch. The plant on the table turns to ash, and it falls around the receptacle, the clay pot that it's in a little ring, little ashen ring. This individual that's on top of you, Ebo, manages to resist the effects, but the other one, the one who attacked you first, who's closing in again, begins to turn. They drop their weapons on, that clatter onto the ground, and they begin to retch, and it's blood that's coming up. And they keep doing it. They're staggering away. They topple over a chair and hit the ground, and a pool of blood begins to form around them. And go ahead and make your vampiric attack.
That was a 22 to hit.
That's a hit. Yep.
All right, and then I gotta roll 3d6. So 13 damage altogether towards the person who's like actively rolling against me.
Rolling around with you.
Yeah.
You can describe how you finish this person off in whatever way you do. What's this look like? That's enough to defeat them. So you get to choose how you defeat them.
Well, this is gonna look terrible, but this is what happens. Because the way I am, and after being able to dispose of an opponent, I can draw more life from that. And I'll link that later because it's just too much to process at the moment. But Ebo is going to slam his hand into this person's chest and kind of yell out to Horsun, but I don't know what's going on with Horsun.
Oh, I apologize, Horsun.
And I grab the individual by the chest and cast, I obviously use the vampiric touch. And you're just going to see like these vines or tendrils of like blood essentially like sift out of the person and into kind of like a multiple like line IV, just going from their like arteries into my arteries, like so just like blood coming out of there and then sifting into mine to kind of just like get back some healing as this person like basically wastes away from me just trying to survive.
There's this sickening sound that's like as they dehydrate in front of your eyes and then roll over motionless, Ebo. And then two more of these robed figures step out of the back through the curtain, appearing, one of them wielding a pair of similar scimitars and one of them wielding a heavy looking crossbow. But you get to choose who you pass your turn off to.
Yeah, I'm going to pass my turn over to probably Horsun. I don't know what's happening with him, but since I drew out of him, like I just giving him, the what does it call this? Basically giving the action to do something about it, to respond, to have agency. Yeah.
Horsun, you still see the fire. You still see this woman that you know on the other side of the fire, separated from you, and that robed figure near the door of the tavern with the 2 daggers in hand on the other side of the fire as well.
So the damage taken from the necrotic damage from Ebo, that didn't break any sort of image, correct?
It did not.
Okay. And can my tiny little warrior brain make a connection between, like, potentially break out of the sphere and make a connection between the double daggered person and then the image I'm seeing?
Yeah, you can roll me an investigation check.
Okay. 12.
We'll say that, like, you are of 2 minds. Part of you knows that this isn't real, and part of you knows that this is real. And I'm going to let you see these other 2 figures appear from behind the bar, these other 2 robed figures. But in your mind, until you make your saving throw, you can try, but you can't get across that fire. It burns too much.
And the two that came out from the bar are across the fire. They're not on our side of the fire.
That's right. Yeah, so you could reach them.
I can reach the 2 that came out the bar. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You'll have disadvantage while you're frightened.
We still have the one that's attacking Ebo, correct?
Ebo just wasted 2 of them.
He got 2 of them. Okay, I thought one was still alive. Okay, so how big is this table?
It could comfortably seat 6 individuals of moderate size. It's a round table.
Now, like, getting creative with action economy here, what's it going to take to one hand flip the table over to one side, grab it by the leg, so the area between the actual table and the legs, and lift it up as a makeshift shield?
That sounds like an action stunt, like an epic stunt to me. Which is one of our house rules. You can make me. You can spend your bonus action to do this, and this is fairly simple. We'll call it a DC 13.
Okay. Athletics or?
Athletics, yeah. Yes.
Critical! It's also
right.
a 30 in athletics.
Also a 30. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with this table, and this moment will cancel your disadvantage on any attacks you make this turn.
Okay, so he's at the table. He sees Ebo waste these 2 guys. He sees Merula shank this robed, hooded figure. Sorry, I'm getting really excited. And he, gets all this fear instilled in him. Someone that he cares about deeply is on the other side of that fire. He's kind of in the mind that all this is happening so sudden. And so the first thing around him that he sees that he can use, he one hands flips the table up into the air, and as it's in the air, grabs the haft of the table and charges the 2 individuals behind the bar. And then, like a discus thrower, rotates his hips and swings the table around, attempting to launch it over the bar, across the bar, to hit as many of the 2 that he can with a family-sized table.
Okay. We'll use what I call rock throwing rules. Make me an improvised attack, and I think you'd be proficient in this too.
Yeah, pugilists are proficient in improvised weapons, so I think that'll be... I still get my same attack bonus for improvised weapons, so I'm just going to use one of my normal unarmed strikes.
Okay.
That's a 10.
All right, and then make one more attack.
Okay. 15.
As you kind of launch this table over the bar, sweeping it wide, the one with the crossbow ducks just in time as it whishes by their head. The other one tries to slash their scimitar into the table to get a leverage and push it back, but you are far stronger than they. And go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay. Well, what's the damage of a table, sir?
You can go ahead and we'll call it like a mace, right? Give me 1d8 plus your strength bonus, plus any other things that you have.
Right. I mean, it's a family-sized table
30.
after all.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's 7, so it's like a glancing blow with a table.
So you smash this individual and they can't stop it. It doesn't crash into them because they have their blades in the wood of the table, but it pushes them back up, and with a crack, you can hear their back hit the bar on the other side. And they're basically trapped between this table and the bar, with their blades pushing up into their skin as they're trying to push back, but they can't push hard enough.
And so he's going to end his turn. Sorry, what?
You have more attacks, right?
That I would. Does that count as one of my attacks?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it does. I like your creativity, and you got that bow. You got the epic stunt, so.
Cool. So I'm going to shove the table into the person holding the blades, and then the person that I missed, the crossbow person that ducked, lunge over the bar for. I'm gonna go with a jab.
Okay. You dive over the bar. That's a hit.
18. 15. No, that's a jab again. Sorry. That's 8 damage to that one.
Yeah, you leap over the bar and punch down over it, and with the force of your punch, like you can hear something in their face just shatter. It's that feeling that you get that I'm sure you're used to as well, that you can never quite shake off. It hurts to hit a person that hard. Just for a moment, at least, like it hurts to punch somebody that hard. But it hurts them more, and they crumple and they begin to crawl away. They're not defeated yet, but you severely injured both of these individuals.
Cool. And that's all I can do. So unless I can use more of my movement to hop over the bar to engage these folks directly.
Totally. Yeah. You can. We'll say that you have enough movement that you can get over the bar.
And then, but I still want to maintain the oppressive grasp of that table onto the sword-wielding individual. And then I'm going to pass
you have
it off.
In one arm you have the table, and then you punch down with the other arm, you can get over the bar. Absolutely.
Yep.
So
passing it off. Dia.
To Dia. All right, Dia.
Dia watches as the table is ripped away, as Merula slides from sight, and there's blood spray, and Ebo is apparently dragged across the bar. She's going to stand, now that there's no table in front of her, walk to the door, put her fingers to the mouth, and let out a whistle to summon House Jarko, because this is all very exciting. But she has other things to do.
There is another robed individual with 2 daggers, 2 redstone daggers, standing in front of the door. They entered with the original.
She rolls her eyes, her hair glows golden, and she shoots them with a sunbeam because they're in her way. Hand just goes out. Golden power comes down the arm. And it looks like a beam of bright sunlight. So that's the first one done. 12 to hit.
So as you focus your key and you unleash this blast of light from your hands towards this individual, they spin their 2 daggers up, crossing them together over their chest, and the light hits the daggers and they hold the beam off. The initial beam.
And then I'm going to spend a key point and do it twice more because he's very annoying. Boom. No. Boom. 19. I'll take that one.
19 will be a hit. Yeah.
7 radiant damage.
So I think it's that thing where like they're holding off the beam, but like it's pushing them back, and like their blades are getting closer to their body, so it's starting to burn them a little bit, and then they roll out of the way, taking some damage, but not the maximum amount of damage.
Yes, good. Move, or you'll get sunburn. Proceeds.
you go to the door to whistle.
Mm-hmm.
As you walk to the door, leaving the chaos that's happening behind you for a moment, you can see that just down the street is the party. There's individuals partying outside that aren't going inside. It seems like pretty much a lot of common folk, merchants, locals, most likely. You see some of the mercenaries that you saw outside of the city, outside of the village, lingering and loitering there as well. But there's definitely people inside too, and there's music trickling out of the stone manor. You don't see any of House Jarko's guards immediately around. What's your goal to try to get them?
So she'll whistle as loud as she can and then go, "Help! Help!" as dramatically as she can to get anyone's attention. She doesn't really care.
Yeah, roll me a persuasion check.
Oh, good.
You do
I'm
start
going to use
to
my
get some-
inspiration for advantage.
Nice. This is a
Because
great way to use
As
inspiration.
Master Horsun always says, sometimes words hurt more than weapons, and sometimes women wield words as weapons, and none so mightily as dear. At least that's how she interpreted the advice, which was probably shut up and punch more. But that's how she 15 either way.
There are a couple of local mercenaries that are kind of walking away, like leaving the party, and you get their attention as you call for help. They look like they might be a little tipsy from the celebration, but they do their duty and they start like running over towards you.
You
And
know
they
what?
start
If
to
she
cross.
notices that tipsy done, she'll yell, "Bar fight!" Because nothing gets a tipsy man running like a bar fight.
Yeah, now they're reaching, like they're kind of like they reached the wrong side of their belt at first, thinking their weapon's on the left side, but it's on the right side, and they're like drawing their weapons and they're getting ready to rush past you into the bar. They'll probably be here by the end of next turn. Your next turn.
I'll
Cool.
just stand here holding the door for them.
Awesome. Merula.
My hiding spot's gone.
I know. I think like in Vermic had grabbed the bone dagger that you gave them, and was like starting to like kind of shake themselves up, like get ready to do something, and then the tables ripped up from the ground and they drop the dagger and they put their hands over their heads and they're just pushing their face into the ground right now next to you.
Wow. So I put my hand sort of like a pat, and without yet leaving the ground, I roll to the side, get my feet under me, and get into a crouch to use the other tables and the bar as a way to obscure vision from who's still up and how close are they to my friends who haven't left and scream bar fight.
So Horsun is going full bar fight with a table in one hand with two robed individuals behind the bar. And then Dia had a momentary interaction where she unleashed a bolt of bright light. It looked almost like sunlight from her hand into the one who had the two daggers in front of the door. That one rolled out of the way and is starting to stand back up again.
But hasn't yet?
But hasn't yet.
How close are they to Dia?
Oh, you could get there. You could weave your way.
Would they be flanking? This is the question I'm asking. Oh no, wait,
I'm gonna
it's
say
prone. I have advantage anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll get it. So, not having gone up yet, Merula stays low, crouches, stays by the tables, and this person is starting to get up as I use dagger-based encouragement to do otherwise.
I appreciate it so much. All right, go ahead and make your attack.
16.
16 is enough to hit.
All right, good. Okay. That's 17 for dagger-based encouragement.
Yeah, you discourage them to stand up. Are you like stabbing them in the leg or?
I think the aim is up into the back of the skull. It's a very nice place to put a dagger.
You jab into the back of the skull and something breaks. As their hood falls back, you can see that their skull is misshapen. It's not shaped like a normal skull. And this is different than the other individuals. The other ones are humanoid. One looked like a dwarf. One was definitely an elf. One was a human. But this individual's skull is misshapen, and something breaks off as you stab upward, and you see just for a second a tongue flicker out of their mouth, forked, and then snap back as they continue to try to roll away from you.
Roll. It would be too much hope that they're rolling away from me.
Well, maybe on their turn. Yeah, it's not their turn yet, but maybe in a second.
Yeah. So, having done so, and given that they're rolling away and might just lose sight of me for a moment, I'm going to interpose a couple of chairs in between me and them and use that bonus action to hide.
Okay, go for it. Give me your stealth.
Yes. Oh, okay. That's 23 at disadvantage.
Yeah, I don't think that they saw you. Like, their head whips around after you stab into their skull, which is continuing to change shape even as they're moving. And then you roll over chairs and hide behind chairs, and as their head twists around almost 180 around to the back of their bodies, they don't spot you, and then their head snaps back forward again.
Thanks, I hate it. And having done so, I look over to Ebo, who has so surprised me in the midst of this combat.
Before your turn, Ebo, these robed individuals are gonna go.
Sure.
And I think first I want an opposed athletics, as this robed individual caught by the table against the bar is going to try their best to push away and free themselves from Horsun. So give me an athletics. Oh, wow.
It's a
What did you get there?
12.
Oh, they got a 7. So even though you rolled almost as low as you could possibly roll in athletics, you still keep them caught there. And so they're stuck. They can't do anything. The other individual that you punched really hard raises their crossbow up towards your gut and just tries to get off a shot. It's going to be a 10.
A 10 is not a hit. And I'd like to think he gracefully slaloms away from the bolt.
and thunk into the bar behind you as you move away. They drop the crossbow, which is a heavy crossbow. It needs to be reloaded. They drop it immediately after, and they turn and try to push into the back room through the curtain.
Would that be moving away from me?
It would, if you wanted to spend your reaction for an opportunity attack. But I will say this. And I should have done this at the end of your turn, but I'm just going to do it now. Make me another wisdom saving throw.
14.
Okay. Horsun. The fire that is just raging in what you see as your bar, your home bar from Balak, it is spreading and it is consuming. It's already taken the bar. You can hear the crackling. You can feel the burning. When you look down at your arm, your skin is peeling and blackening. It is going to consume you. Part of you knows that that's true. And the other part of you knows that it's not entirely real, but you haven't broken this attack yet. And I need you... Oh, no, you already rolled it. So that's going to be 21 psychic damage.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, okay.
But you do get to make your opportunity attack. Again, you do have disadvantage on this.
Okay. He's going to... Can I forego a punch and aim for a grapple? Because in his mind, this is the end, and if he's going to go down, he's going to bring these two with him. So he's going to attempt to grapple so that they stay in the flames.
Absolutely.
All right, so that would be opposing athletics versus acrobatics or athletics.
Yeah, that's right.
23.
That's versus a 13. So yeah, how do you grab this individual as they're trying to scurry away?
So in his eyes is this fierce animalistic desperation as they drop the crossbow, they get up and they're running away, and as they're like doing the triple extension to kind of lean forward, he grabs the hood on the back of their the back of the head area and yanks them to him. So it's like attempting to club the person's head against the table that he's holding.
Yeah, I think they kind of just go limp in your arms a little bit with the force. They're not defeated, but like it stuns them for a moment and now you have both of them as the fire is enveloping you and you can feel it, and like it's maybe a Constitution saving throw.
All right, that's an 11.
I think everyone else would hear Horsun scream, even though they don't see why. And it does sound like a pain scream. I think it's just something you can't resist in this moment, Horsun. But you do have these two individuals locked with you.
That's legit.
The final robed figure that's very close to Merula takes their two daggers, they spin the red blades in both hands, and they stand up and they throw both across the room right at Ebo. Now Ebo is prone, right? Did you stand back up?
No, I was like still on the floor. I didn't have the intention at the moment to get up.
That's what I thought. So these are actually going to be a disadvantage because it's a hard throw as they're standing and you're prone.
DM's giveth and taken away. That's awesome.
The 16 and a 14.
The 16 hits, the 14 also hits.
Okay. 7 slashing and 10 poison damage.
Okay.
How's Evo looking?
Rough. Back to where he was on the ground, like the first encounter.
Okay. That was the first dagger.
Yeah.
And then 7 more.
Ebo's Ebo just.
Seven.
Yeah. Ebo just like on the ground prone after like drawing all that blood. Those daggers come right into him, and hard to tell which blood is now Ebo's or what he seeped away, but he's just on the floor motionless. Just lets out a groan, just on the ground.
And you can decide if he's conscious or not. For incapacitated, I always that's kind of up to you in my opinion. But these 2 daggers whiz through the air, and they both strike, one in your thigh and one in your shoulder. And when they hit, it's a moment later. Like, it hurts, of course, being attacked with a blade hurts, but a moment later, you can feel the poison coursing through your body, Ebo. And as soon as that happens, as soon as Ebo kind of goes rigid on the ground, the robed individual hisses a word. And Merula, roll me an Arcana check.
Ooh. If you have to check your modifier, you're in trouble. That's a 10.
10. You're not sure.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's disadvantage. 9.
Okay.
I'm so tired, I can't remember.
Yeah. You're not sure what the nature of the word is. It's definitely in a foreign language, but like, you can't pick up the intention. But a moment later, the robe of the figure in front of you drops in a pile to the ground, and their body is swirling sand that kind of comes up like a tendril into the air, like a little mini tornado for a second, and then it bursts across the room and reforms just beyond the curtain behind the bar. And you can see that them starting to take shape. And you can see their figure kind of obfuscated behind the curtain. Their body is muscular and like a fairly dark green color, with these scales all over their body, and it's continuing to shape and morph. Their legs are turning into one. They're becoming the torso of the tail of a snake-like being, and they're beginning to whip back deeper into that hallway as they misty step with their bonus action and continue to disappear further into the hallway. You can hear them crashing into the walls, breaking things along the way. But that's the end of their turn. And I want to give it to Ebo here.
Mm-hmm. Ebo is just going to be coughing like blood out. And I mean, obviously he's rigid from the poison, but there's just going to be like a look of shock in his eyes as like his breathing is slowing down. And he's just like looking probably to like, he's like still, and he's just like looking towards Horsun and looking towards Merula and just like breathing slower and slower. And that's what Ebo does.
Roll me a death saving throw.
Sure. I do that by doing this. That's a fail.
All right, that's
a
1.
4.
Okay, who do you pass your turn off to Dia or to Horsun?
I will pass it off to Horsun.
All right, so they're still driven by fear. As a middle-aged, retired gladiator, he's convinced that he's facing his last moments, so he's going to take the hand that has the table, and he's going to step back and power through the table and like jab with the table to hit the person with an unexpected amount of force with that object, and then I'll just roll it's the same damage and everything as one of my normal punches. Use tables more often. So I'll roll that. 19.
Oh, 19's a hit.
12 bludgeoning damage.
That's enough to finish off that one. You can describe how it happens.
So the force that he uses to put the table, like, flattens the skull of this individual as the table goes through the upper half of their body, and you hear and as the spine kind of contorts in weird ways and this flops back on the floor behind the bar. Then he's going to use his second attack to push the person he's got grappled back and headbutt them with an unarmed strike.
Okay, go for it.
That's a 26. Way more better.
It's with disadvantage. It's what?
Oh, 14. 14.
That's still a hit, though.
And
It's totally still a hit.
Yeah, and the table was a 16. If the 14 hits, then
Oh yeah, that's still a hit. Yeah.
All right, 5 bludgeoning damage with my face.
That's enough with your previous damage to finish off this individual as well.
And so pulling them in with all of the force that you would have if you were just about to go, he's going to put his head down right at the last moment and split his opponent's face on his face, but my face doesn't give, and the body goes limp, and he just tosses it to the ground. Is the fire still blazing right? Can I see the person that was in the image through the fire?
Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
I'm going to burn my inspiration for advantage.
I really like that.
16.
So you have saved against this psionic ability, and you can describe with Horsun's mind how he overcomes this moment and what he sees, and I might add a little something too.
So he finishes his 2 opponents, and after headbutting the second opponent, if you've played contact sports before, when you get a clean clock to the head, you have this weird metallic taste in your mouth, and so that association brings back this rush, this flood of memories, and his hormones and his chemicals just kind of take over and propel him to this, where he's not thinking about how he's operating, he's just operating. All of his training is kind of flowing into execution at this point in time, and he looks up to check to see if the image, the individual that he cared about so much, is still cowering in fear in the corner of the room on fire, and it just is gone.
There's a cool breeze too that you couldn't feel before that's coming in through the door, and you feel it on your skin the moment you dispel this illusion.
Cool. The person that just turned into a snake, obviously I was kind of wrapped up in my own stuff. Did I witness them Misty step behind the bar and escape?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, because this ain't done. I'm gonna chase him like an idiot.
Okay. You push
where
through the
my
curtain.
movement?
You can see. Yeah, you can use your movement.
Okay. And can I get within melee?
Yeah, sure. You rush through the curtain. The walls have been the weight of their body as they've transformed into this large snake-like figure. The walls are cracked and crumbling from the force of them slamming in side over side. One of the doors has been knocked down. As you rush towards it, you see the bartender there just lying unconscious. Not sure if he's dead, probably not, but you don't have time to really check if you're going to keep following, and a pile of cookware in the kitchen.
All right. And I'm going to use a pugilist ability called the Old One too. I'm going to burn a moxie point and take 2 more unarmed strikes against the rear of this snake. So it's like he's running through the curtain, and he leaps up and tries to strike with his right fist into the back of the snake as it's fleeing, and then and then I'll describe if he lands that one what he does next.
Okay.
Okay. That's a 21.
That's a hit.
All right, and that damage is 8 bludgeoning.
All right, you strike
then-
it hard. Something shifts, like you can feel it shifting against your force as its body is basically continuing to change. It's continuing to grow, but for a second, you almost put a hole through it.
And then, after recognizing how it moves, I'm going to press up, like elevate my whole body up in the air and kind of like grab it, and then use all of my force pulling it into me and come down with a knee right into its, what I would imagine is its vertebrae.
Cool.
18.
That's a hit.
7 more bludgeoning.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you again, like you're breaking scales, and that same kind of, I think you've seen it once before on the mountaintop, that dark, oozing, like thick liquid that comes out of these things is spurting up from those wounds. It's continuing to move, but slowly, and like you can see that it's trying with its back arm, which is still humanoid, to swipe at you, to push you away, but it's kind of weak.
Bet your ass it's weak. Let's go!
Dia, it is your turn. These two guards, these two mercenaries, rush towards you. One of them rushes towards the door and stands in and is looking around, just kind of confused. And the other one stops and says, "What's going on?"
Some men, they jumped us. Please, one went out the back. Fetch a healer. He's in trouble. Indicates Abo on the floor. Dramatic gestures. This is the end of the world. Please be my hero and get me everything I need.
Roll me one more persuasion check.
I need to fix Dia's stats. She is not good at persuasion.
Or I'll give you the performance, deception, persuasion. I think all apply here. You can choose one.
Athletics.
Athletics.
Please, you'll have the favor of the noble house of Pasha. Can I use politics on these bitches?
Yeah, sure. I'll go for it.
I'm sorry, Merula. 14.
He kind of glances in, seeing all of the bodies and all of the blood and all of the mess, and for a second he goes pale. You can see him in the starlight and the moonlight, like his face goes noticeably pale, and he sort of stumbles back a couple of steps and says, "I'll go find one of the elven healers. I'll be back." And he turns and begins to bolt off across the street as the other guard starts to step in, drawing their weapon, keeping it held in front of them, looking around for trouble.
That way.
Anything else?
Out the back.
He turns to look out the back, but I don't think that he's committed to going there this turn. He's
That's okay.
taking it all in. Is there anything Dio wants to do?
Dia wants to run down the street to the party, please, Don.
You're leaving everybody behind to go to the party?
Well, to get more people who are at the party just down
Okay.
the street.
Cool.
Of course.
I don't know why I assumed that you're like, it's party time. No, that makes more sense. Yeah.
My
Okay,
job
yeah,
is
you're
done.
running. Yeah, you're rushing towards the people standing outside, and you can hear the music approaching as you're running up. And Dia's fast too, right?
Oh, yeah. And I imagine as she runs, slippers come off her feet, and it's just barefoot across this ground as quick as she can go. She'll come back for
I
the
love it.
slippers.
You're running uphill too a little bit. This is slightly uphill in the center of town, but you're booking it fast.
Good endurance training.
Merula, as this guard comes in, and you're back behind the chair, they haven't seen you yet. The guard hasn't. They're sort of surveying, and you've witnessed everything. What does Merula do?
Who's still up?
None of the people besides the snake figure, the robed figure that Misty stepped behind the bar and then transformed into a snake. It looks like you can hear Horsun crashing around in the hallway, probably with that thing.
Well, I want to... The best way to help Ebo is to make sure no one else attacks him, as far as I can tell, and I would never say it to his face, but I'm maybe just a little bit worried about Horsun as well. So I want to rush up to that altercation and assist in ending him. Snake Boy,
Okay.
not Horsun.
Yeah.
Horsun's lovely. Horsun can stay.
Absolutely. So are you attacking then?
Tell me this. In this hallway, sometimes you'll have that little passover from a kitchen. Could I maybe go in a kitchen way so that I would be able to hide and attack from a surprising position? Is that like how this building is made? Lovely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll roll
2
the
doors
stealth.
into the kitchen.
14.
Let's see. That should be... Well, I'll just roll it. And that's good. You are able to surprise them, and they're kind of distracted with Horsun anyways, like on top of their back, like jumping up and down on them, basically. So you're able to go in one
couldn't
door.
fathom why that might be distracting. All right. Okay. Don't fail me now. Don't fail Horsun right now. Well done. Good. That's 22 to hit.
That'll be a hit.
Oh, good. And 20. 20 damage.
That is enough to take this creature out with surprise. And it is surprised too, as its head is like turned around, its tongue flicking at Horsun, its fangs barred, venom dripping from them. And you sneak around to the front.
So I go into the kitchen, over and parkour slide over the passover so that I can put the knife into the snake just as Horsun is pushing. So it's this nice contraposition of forces that end very poorly, in fact, for our terrible, awful, no good, very bad snake boy.
And there's that squishing sound for a second as you two come together and the snake's life is ended. There's surprise in its eyes as it hits the ground. And we're going to tidy something up here for a second, and then I want to go to Ebo. There's a moment where you, Merula, and you, Horsun, are face to face, and the snake is on the ground. And just a couple of seconds go by, and the scales begin to flake off of the snake. And its skin, its flesh begins to dissolve. It begins to change. It begins to turn into that same goop that's inside of it as it's almost melting in front of your eyes. And Horsun, back behind Merula, on the back wall of this hall in this tavern, stone wall, you see something strange. You see a sigil of something that looks like a serpent or a snake carved into the wall, inlaid with gold tracing, and 4 large gemstones, one green, one red, one blue, one black, all pulsing with light at different times, sort of in a pattern.
So that appeared that wasn't there before, or I just didn't see it until now.
I think, yeah, you're not sure because the snake is much larger than you, and you were like attacking the snake from behind. But as the snake goes down and you're just catching your breath for a moment, you see it at the end of this hallway.
So drawing some sort of weird connection between these two things, as this thing's turning to muck, he glances what Merula seems like through you and starts moving towards you, and takes the back of his form and not aggressively, but just moves you out of the way and walks up to that symbol and then tries to punch through it. And then, like, he's completely deafened by, in his mind, what is the chanting and cheering of a crowd that doesn't exist, and his eyes are wide and he's pumping with adrenaline, and he screams at the top of his lungs like a roar, and as he steps he aims to punch through this stone, this wall, through this symbol.
All right, I need you first to make me an athletics check.
That's a 25, my friend.
All right, and now I need you to make me a Constitution saving throw. 2 Constitution saving throws. Yeah,
10
just 2
and a
Constitution.
19.
As you punch this wall, as you punch this sigil, the stones, those gems, they don't crack. Some of the gold inlay on the carving itself cracks, and some of the stone cracks a little bit, but with the force of your blow, there's an explosion, and it pushes back. And this heat isn't imagined, Horsun. This heat is real. As this fire sort of like burns at your face and your hands for a second, coming off of this sigil, you take 8 fire damage. And Merula, what are you doing during this? Are you just watching? Are you doing anything in particular?
I think there's a moment where I look and this is clearly something of an arcane nature. Can I take an Arcana check just to try to figure out what's going on with these sigils?
Absolutely.
Alright. Please be nice. I know we're tired, but please be nice. 10.
It's definitely arcane in nature. You know that.
Yeah.
And you know that you know that there is there's rules to magic, and there must be rules to this. But I think there's a moment as you're trying to wrap your head around, exhausted from everything that's happened, your travel, and then everything that just happened. You're trying to wrap your head around what those rules might be as Horsun's blasted in the face with fire. There's the sound of the guard moving around behind you, coming into the hallway behind you. And Ebo.
Yep.
We move to you on the floor. What do you think Ebo's thinking about right now, or doing? What's going through his mind? What's he experiencing?
He is looking out towards the entrance and just like looking at the pretty lights of, like, you know, I imagine there's torchlight or something out there, and he's just like watching like some of the sand kicking through past the door, and then like the light from the torches kind of like flickering, and he thinks about his daughter who's out there somewhere, and he just like wishes that he's safe in those little moments. And he also thinks about maybe meeting up his wife. Like maybe it's time to meet up with his wife. Like if this is how this is, then that's how it's gonna happen. And he wishes Villery the best. And like as he's like seeing that and like the light from the torches like slowly dim and his breathing getting slower, he's just holding on to like the happy little moments he's had at Villery and watching it prosper. And that's what Ebo was thinking in these moments.
Roll me a death saving throw.
Yep. A 5. So that's another failure.
Ebo, the torchlight gets a little bit dimmer and a little bit dimmer, and the sounds of music or laughter or conversations from your past, your village, those moments that you hold on to, those voices are getting a little further and further away. But though the light is dimming, it's not gone entirely. And as you're sort of staring out towards the door, a shape appears in the door. Long legs, boot towards you, wearing, looks like maybe leather armor of some kind on their legs. You can't see their face, but those footsteps stop right in front of your eyes, and they take one knee to the ground next to you. You can just see their leg, their shoes, their boots. And then, as the light continues to fade, you hear just a faint whisper in your ear. Don't worry. I've got you. And
Ebo is inaudible. I'm just saying it audibly, but his mouth moves. He doesn't know what that means, but he just goes,
I'm ready.
and that's all he's saying. Like, he doesn't know what this is, good or bad, if this is, like, the other side communicating that I'm being taken away. Doesn't know. He's just, and he mouths that. He doesn't, like, say anything. There's no air that comes out of his mouth. It's just his mouth doing that. And just kind of, like, settling into the warmth or the cold that's happening.
The light goes out, and in the dark, you feel a soft hand on your cheek. And that's where we're going to end our session for tonight.
All right.
How could you?
Yeah.
Yay! D&D is fun. Oh, man.
Thank you, everybody, very much. This was a really all over the place kind of episode. I'm sorry for doing that, but I'm looking forward to finding out what happens next week. So let's do what we do and go around and check in with everybody, see how they're doing. Let us know who you are and where we can find you. Everybody in chat, please check all of our friends here out. All of the people that play this game are amazing. They do amazing other things everywhere elsewhere. Go follow them. They will make your lives better if you do. I promise you that. And let's start with Michael. Michael, hi.
Yeah, hey, good to be here. Had fun. Anyway, y'all, intense session, but so happy to be here. So happy to explore Ebo and what's going on. But yeah, Michael Sinclair II. Go by Michael Crits everywhere. Is there anything I'm covering? Am I saying like my favorite moment or anything? I'm just giving off
whatever you want. Whatever you feel like covering.
Favorite moment is just using the magic, the dope magic of this world of Dark Sun. So it was pretty cool. That one moment was really awesome to see, like how powerful magic can feel or be like. It's very responsive, I guess. And then yeah, like I said, Michael Crits everywhere. By the time this comes out, there's going to be a Black AF VOD, the Roundtable. Black AF Roundtable, so be sure to check that out. I'm with Fae Forge Academy on that podcast, and I also play Magic the Gathering on my personal stream. We hit Mythic, so that's good. I'll probably have, by the time you see this, I'll probably be grinding the ladder and hopefully getting Mythic again. But if you ever want to learn how to play or just hang out in my chat, totally welcome to do that.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing some of the defiling magic, and specifically how Ebo was using it too, which is even more unique. I thought that was a lot of fun to see. And we got to maybe we got to answer a couple of questions, but we really got to ask a lot of questions about characters tonight, which is my favorite part. And I'm excited to find out more and more about Ebo as we move forward.
We'll see.
So thank you for
We'll see about that. We'll see about that.
That's
yeah.
true, yeah. It's not looking good at the moment. We'll see.
Maybe we'll find out about Ebo.
One way or the other. Great. Bill, how are you doing, buddy?
That was intense, Don. I've been in a lot of fights with you as the game runner, and that was tense. I was worried. I am worried. And it's one of those moments where it's like, you don't know what's going to happen, so you just kind of like want to roll your beard up into your mouth and chew on it. Just out of nerves. Yeah, I love the freedom of combat. I love the defiling magic. I love all of the character choices everyone is making. Yeah, it was everyone, like, y'all painted such a good picture. Like, I understand everything a little bit more now, and I'm glad that Don lets me kind of be creative with the combat. I love the stunt ability. And I just love being in like knockdown, drag out fights. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of all these the house rules and the system. I have a cat digging his claws into my buttock right now, so sorry for being distracted. I'm Bill of the Forest on the internet everywhere, Director of Business Development for LFM. Watching this, watch the other stuff on the channel. We put so much love and energy into everything else we have going on. It's 100% worth your eyeballs, if only for a little bit. So please check that out and help support this young burgeoning company. Create art and support a lot of creative talent in our community. So, and if you can't get behind that, then kick bricks. I love all of you. Thank you, everyone in chat and YouTube, for watching. It means the world to me, and I follow all these people. They do all amazing things, and they'll make your life infinitely better, like you said.
Thanks, Bill. I always like seeing you really lean into like, especially like when you're playing a grappler character or a fighter character, they really like use their hands. I know like that's a part of the character that's like really important to you, right? Like the entire idea of being a trainer and all of this is like something that's personally important to you, and you can express that not just through violence, but through their mindset of how they teach people and how they interact with people and see value in people. And that's something I'm really enjoying about Horsun too, as they're developing more relationships with the other characters.
It's role playing, man. You gotta it's love. It's love. It's what it is.
Yeah.
But also violence.
Yeah. But also violence.
Gratuitous.
Yeah, I understand.
Violence.
I'm cool. Hey Charlie, how are you doing?
My inner cleric is crying. Great tears of hopelessness. Every time we play D&D, Don, I somehow end up not playing a cleric and desperately want to be one to fix the horrible things you do to my castmates. But also, all them snakes are in big trouble. They've got after my rat friends, and I ain't having it. They took the giant friends. I kind of had a problem with that. They take the rat friends. And then they attack Ebo, which is kind of not cool because, you know, he's part of the caravan. That's not alright. We're pretty important people in this caravan, and, you know, you attack one, and but, you know, consequences are for, you know, people with political power to do things about them. I'm glad that Dia could get a healer, I think, as quickly as she could effectively have gotten one. Hopefully they turn up and they know what they're doing and they're not just drunk and useless. Because I've had that happen to me before. And yeah, hopefully we can patch Ebo up. I don't know. You can find me on the internet. I do RPG games, lots of them, all the time, lots of different things. Come check them out. Probably playing some horror games. That's pretty much my generic bag. It's really nice in this game playing someone who watches the horror and isn't sure what to do about it, but tries something. And it was really fun unleashing some sun today out of her beautiful golden hair and through her hands because someone was in her way. Don't get in Dia's way. Honest, she's super intimidating.
I did like that you decided, nah, I don't want to fight. I'm gonna go get people with authority.
Just let's go get town. I only packed so many pieces of clothing. We had it when I started going and getting backup. Backup should have been enough. I mean, you don't have to fight to solve every problem. You can get other people to fight to solve your problems.
It's a good idea.
Right?
It's a good idea. And we'll see the consequences of that next week for sure. What about anything cool you want to shout out, or where folks can find you? Anything you want to say about any of that?
I would like to shout out the Game of Thrones game that I'm involved in over on Follow Black Cats. I'm not sure where we're going to be at when this goes out, but it's on Thursdays, 3 p.m. We've been running for over a year now. We're probably still running for like the next year because we refuse to let our GM over there stop. It's a really great game, so if you enjoy the politics of this one, come and check that out. Ooh, battery in my mic. Over on Follow Black Cats. That's me. I'm going to keep punching my mic because I'm a monk and I'm meant to punch things.
Yeah, please do. After the Fire, it's a great political Game of Thrones, very, very heavy politics, but it's a lot of fun with a great group of people, so definitely check that out. Sam. Oh.
Hi, I'm very cross with you. Please don't hurt our wizard anymore. I haven't even gotten to talk to him about bad magic things. So don't do bad things. Thank you. If you would like to hear me excoriate my other GMs, I do a variety of role-playing games throughout the Twitchernet. You can find me on Twitter at Tchaikovsky. It's spelled right up there, through the miracles of modern technology. If you want to know the full schedule of games that I'm playing, you should check out my Twitch About page, which has my full weekly schedule of my RPG and personal streams throughout the Twitchernet. That's on twitch.tv/Delevely, Delevely.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I promise.
You're crossing your fingers.
I really... No, you can't. I mean, you can't see, but no. Totally not. I really enjoyed Merula. I really enjoyed Merula this week, as I always do, but getting everybody to interact this week for the first time, except for Christina, who we'll have back next week, and we'll get her into the mix as well. But for the first time, the group was kind of together. I felt like it went really, really well. You could have gone to a party, but you went to a tavern instead. And
I love the part where we didn't go to parties. That was great. Overall, yeah. I confess, Merula will probably find the situation favorable, and then they think of Ebo and how Horsun got so hurt, and then they'll feel guilty about that, but it'll still be true. Hate parties. Hate parties so bad, Dawn.
I understand. The last one did not go so well for us. It did not go so well. But yes, please,
done
everybody.
Well at parties.
No. How many have we done? Would this have been party number 3?
Yeah, because that first one, I took Merula's temperature on how they do with this, and that was that sweet nat one. And they've hated parties ever since.
Wow, I forgot about that for a second, because that was all the way back at the very, very beginning for Merula. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, the party is optional. You don't have to go. You never have to go to the party. You can always find other way to have fun with your friends.
I'm sure my
Or-
secretly magic father will be fine with it.
Anyways, without saying anything else, thank you all very much. Everybody here is great. I'm Don. I'm the creative director here at LFM. We do lots of great shows, like Bill said. Please come check out some of the other stuff we're doing. Our twin campaign, Tales from the Silt Expanse, airs on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's the same world. Things are happening in both that are affecting each other. That one's very swashbuckling, and it takes place on the Sea of Silt, so you can check that out on Sundays. And then on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Degrees of Madness, which is our puppet comedy horror 1980s Call of Cthulhu game with guests. And if that sounds crazy, you should watch the show, because that doesn't even start to address what's happening there. But you'll see a lot of our friends here on the channel, and some of our friends on other channels and elsewhere in the community will be coming on to play with that game. It's a very talented group of people, so check that out as well. In the meantime, thank you, moderators. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of our community. If you liked the episode, leave us a comment. Let us know what you liked. It means a lot to us. Otherwise, we will see you in Athos next week. Take care, everybody. Good night.